walls that I'm breaking down. Everybody knows I ain't faking now. Everybody knows my heart's vacant now. Yeah, she hates me now, I made mistakes, but now I don't ever wanna be alone. I don't really ever feel at home. Yeah, she hates me now, I made
Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? How's it going? Hello, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Cool.
How's it
All
going?
right. So yeah,
Hello, everyone.
I've been thinking about trying to stream for a
Cool.
while,
All
but
right.
I haven't gotten like
So
the
yeah,
kind of video I've been looking for where
I've been thinking about trying to stream for a
cool.
while,
I'd
but
really like to
I
react
haven't
to.
gotten
But I found a
like
video,
the kind of video I've been
um,
looking for where
from
I've been
Vosh,
thinking about trying to stream for a
cool.
while, but
And
really like to
I
react
haven't.
to.
It is something else. It is amazing. Um, yeah. Um, so we were gonna do that, and then I was gonna maybe try like a politics tier list just for fun, and just piss people off. Um, yeah, did I fix the echo? Is it better now? Yeah, I noticed there was an echo. Is it better now though? All right, beautiful, wonderful. So yeah, um, yeah, because I don't want to stream like all the time, or make this like I still want my main thing to be videos, but like if I find really good stuff to react to, that is worth reacting to, then I will probably try a stream thing like this. So yeah, let me see if I can set up the window capture so it picks this thing up. There we go. Beautiful. So yeah, um, Vosh released this video about the China balloon. Um, yeah. So the he does say one like normal thing where he's like, yeah, I mean, even if it is a spy balloon, every country spies on each other. That is natural. That is just what countries do. They will spy on each other, whether it's a spy balloon or satellite or whatever. Um, but then basically basically the first like 30 minutes or whatever are just like him like freaking out over like just how powerful the military is and their surveillance capabilities, and that's kind of typical. That's not that surprising for him. Um, but around like 39 minutes in, it gets really wild really fast. So yeah, I wanted to react to it because it's very funny. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyways, let's get into it.
Like stuff that's too small.
Okay, can you guys hear it by the way? Can you guys hear the video audio? Did it come through? Wasn't this just a weather balloon nothing burger? The State Department just put out a release where they were like, it's a spy balloon. Who knows whether they're honest or not? Like, there's a good chance they're obviously not being honest about that. Very good chance. But either way, it's like this is not like it's interesting because like the balloons had gone over America before. It's interesting that now all of a sudden they're, making a big deal out of this and they literally shot it out of the sky. So to me, it seems just like a purposeful escalation on the US's part to potentially build up to some kind of war. Sort of like Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan, because, China is overtaking the US in terms of its economic power, So the US wants a war. They absolutely want a war at any and all costs to be able to fuck up China in any way they can because the US it might be have a weaker economy at this point. but it still has a much stronger military. So whether or not it's a weather balloon, the U.S. is definitely using this as a way to manufacture consent for war, basically. But regardless, we're going to listen to what Vosh has to say. Little quiet? Okay, let me know if it's better now.
Just wonder if we'd miss, like, stuff that's too small. How long do you think it'll be important for the U.S. to at least maintain military superiority? Right now, the United States is kind of the lead country of the West, and the West is the only political bloc that is a democracy. I only care about the U.S. having military superiority insofar as that is the case. But right now, you're goddamn right I want us to maintain that superiority.
So yeah, the West is the only political bloc that has a democracy. Oh, okay.
Diffuse reconnaissance program. On August 31st, 1960, Secretary of the Air Force Dudley Sharp, on orders from President Eisenhower, established the Office of Missile and Satellite Systems to direct the Air Force Satellite Reconnaissance Program. A little over a year later, on September 6, 1961, Secretary of Defense Reconnaissance Program,
Russia threatens
Space and Aerial Reconnaissance
Oh
Program.
no, I can read the tweets now. Guys, Russia threatens nuclear war non-stop. They should not be military leaders. Literally, lefties get their panties in a twist all the time over like, oh, Americans so warmongery. Russia is constantly saying like, yeah, if you don't let us do what we want, we will nuke you. Them. And China plays defense for North Korea, who does the same thing, but admittedly to a much less of an extent. And it's not like China is any saint of military interventionism or engagement either. They keep threatening to invade Taiwan, which is an ally of the US. We're not the ones starting these fights. Russia invaded Ukraine. China's threatening to invade Taiwan. We're not threatening to invade China. We're not threatening to invade Russia. We would never invade either of those because they're both nuclear powers. That'd be insane.
He's completely ignoring, how literally Libya, like a decade ago, was destroyed by America. He's ignoring Syria, how right now in Syria we're taking, resources from there. He's ignoring how in Yemen we're funding Saudi Arabia. We're giving Saudi Arabia weapons in Yemen. We're doing all these horrible things around the world. China is based in hypotheticals. They might invade Taiwan. They're not actually doing anything to Taiwan. So it's ridiculous.
Haven't threatened to do it either. We have far-right populist political leaders who have screamed about it, but the actual likelihood of the United States making any real effort to invade China is nothing. It's zero. There's no chance. If a US president, if DeSantis ever came to power and was like, "Oh yeah, no, we should invade China, bro," the Pentagon would have him killed and quietly replaced. There is no way. Meanwhile, over in Russia, they're screeching about beginning the end of the world like 24/7. Do you think it's an issue that NATO ships are in the South China Sea? No! Aren't they in the territorial water of Taiwan? Yes, they are. Yeah, then it's our ally that keeps getting threatened by China. South China Sea is in international waters. Well, not.
It's fascinating how he always says our. He uses this language like we and our. Like, he's supposed to be a socialist. He's supposed to be a leftist. Yet he refers to America as we and our and us. Dude, I mean, it's so obvious what a fucking shill for America he is.
Not all of it, of course. There are parts of it that are held. Hold on. South China Sea ownership map. Woo! I love territorial disputes. Who, baby? Look at those conflicting lines. Jesus Christ. China has been building artificial islands to try to claim water that isn't theirs. Yeah, I heard about that because the laws around territorial sovereignty in the water are built around coastlines. So by making artificial islands, they're expanding their international waters borders. 2 U.S. aircraft carriers now in South China Sea as Chinese Air Force flies 39 aircraft near Taiwan. There's no way they invade Taiwan. with 2 U.S. aircraft carrier groups in the.
So why are you fear-mongering about China invading Taiwan, and then you openly say there's no way that China is going to invade Taiwan? What is the point of doing this fear-mongering about how the West is the only democracy in existence right now? They have to be the main military power. And then you're like, yeah, China's not going to invade Taiwan. And I'm also, oh my God. Oh.
South China Sea. There's no way. There's no goddamn way, man. There's no way. That'd be insane. 2 carrier strike groups? That's 2022. Yeah, but we still have stuff there. An operational formation of roughly 7,500 personnel.
So he's just getting turned on by American military capabilities yet again.
Usually an aircraft carrier, at least 1 cruiser, a destroyer squadron, and at least 2 destroyers or frigates. Vosh, the U.S. is absolutely responsible for needless invasions of other countries. Are we forgetting Vietnam? Vietnam 65 years ago? Or literally everything we did in the Middle East? Yeah, I don't forget it. But what is.
Remember, he earlier literally said, he talked about how China was no, saint either, and he refers to Taiwan, and he referred to, but China has not done anything in the past like 10, 15 years. I believe they invaded Vietnam in like under Deng Xiaoping, which was not good. But like, if you're ignoring the past, if you're just ignoring the past and just looking at the present, like say you ignore all the horrific things the US has done, which is far greater than China, and you give both countries a clean slate. Right now, what is going on in the world? What is China doing to destabilize the world? America is in Syria, taking their resources, destroying them through sanctions. They're also damaging Afghanistan through sanctions. They are facilitating the genocide in Yemen through continuing to give Saudi Arabia weapons. What is China doing? There was the Uyghur thing, which was not great, but it was completely blown out of proportion, right? Like there were detainments, right? There were fairly credible reports of torture, but like that was like 20,000 people or something that were like detained. What are you saying, dude? You're such a fascist piece of shit, and it's so obvious what a fascist piece of shit you are. It's so incredibly obvious. You're literally operating off of the hypothetical of China might invade Taiwan. First of all, it would not be in their interest to invade Taiwan because their military is nothing like the size of the US. So if they tried to invade Taiwan, it would probably go horribly. You can see how horribly, or not horribly, but not great, it's going in Ukraine. Yeah, he's just operating off of the hypotheticals of what China might do compared to what the US is actually doing right now across the world. Like, even if you ignore everything of the past, which is such a fucked up thing to do and say, like, oh yeah, but that's in the past. Do you think a country's past actions, the things it has done in the past, might help inform the present? Do you think that maybe a country is in some way built off of its invasions and coups? Do you think that America might want to keep doing that because that is how it has operated for centuries? But anyway, and also the Taiwan thing is such bullshit because Taiwan, it's like if the Confederacy fled to Cuba after the end of the Civil War, genocided the people in Cuba, and then when America was about to go back to Cuba and take that and wipe out what was left, then like Russia sent its ships or whatever to blockade America from invading Cuba and wiping out what was left. This is literally what happened in the Chinese Civil War, right? The nationalists lost the Civil War in China, right? And then they fled to Taiwan, genocided the people that lived in Taiwan, and then I believe in the 50s, the communist China was going to invade Taiwan to take out what was left of the Chinese nationalists who were basically just fascists. And America sent its navy to prevent China from doing so. So America openly interfered to protect a like fascist nationalist state. So yeah. Audio's a bit quiet. Do I need to raise the audio?
What does that have to do with right now? Not to mention, and I know this comes across as like awfully mean, but I consider like threatening nuclear war to be on a much higher tier of like military escalation than invading a non-nuclear country. The CSIS war game, the US would beat China in a fight. Well, yeah, nothing can beat the
China never talks about nuclear war. Like, so I don't even know what he's talking about. So now he's just going to Russia, right? He's going back to Russia because that doesn't really apply to China. I don't know much about Russia. I don't know if they often threaten nuclear war or not. But he's only including Russia in the equation. So it doesn't even apply to China.
US. Question mark, question mark, question mark. What? How many Navy ships in South China Sea? Are they 2 full carrier strike groups? The 7th Fleet? Wait, is it the entire 7th Fleet? 7th Fleet. CSIS. Where is a log of all of the Navy ships currently in operation in the South China Sea? It's a state secret. You can't hide that well, you know. I mean, if 2 aircraft carriers are there, it's reasonable to assume that the carrier strike groups are there as well. I don't know, I'm just curious. Alright, well, whatever. Getting mega stun-locked. Fleet tracker? Nimitz carrier strike group operates in South China Sea. We're learning so much today. God damn. Okay, hold on. We got super distracted here.
Projects under a covert National Reconnaissance Office that combined the expertise of the intelligence community, Department of Defense, and private industry. Dr. Joseph Cherick, Undersecretary of the Air Force and Director of the Office of Missile and Satellite Systems, and Richard Bissell, CIA Deputy Director of Plans, led...
What a nerd. I completely forget why we were watching this to begin with. Way too many lefties getting their panties in a twist thinking the West genocide count comes anywhere close to the older part of the planet, aka the East. No, stop! Why the does anyone care about...
What? What? The West, lefties getting their panties in a twist thinking the West genocide count comes anywhere close to the East. Oh, okay, wow. I mean let's see if Vosh like actually hits back at that at all.
When we're talking right now about like military power allocation, why does anyone give a fuck about what happened in the past? Why would we count the Qing rebellion, 50 billion people dead from 5 million years ago in China in any kind of... I don't care about the Vietnam War when we're talking about like modern day who's the most stable on the global stage. Right now, if we're talking about like Russia, China, America, America is undeniably the most stabilizing force of those three. 100.
Okay. Okay, dude. Like, okay. Alright, you're just gonna say that? I mean, yeah, I mean he's just completely masked off. Like he's not even just saying America's bad, but like it's doing that, which is still bullshit. I mean, you can criticize China, you can have plenty of criticisms of China, which I do, but to say America is a more stabilizing force than China is just wrong. You know, it's just completely inaccurate. But I feel like he's going so more mask off in this video. Yeah, I think he said the same thing many times, the chatter says. I don't know if he's been this mask off like he goes in this video, and it just keeps going. So, oh, yeah, I know. it's very convenient to say the past history doesn't matter because he knows American history is far worse than the history of like any other country of the past 200 years. Not like, it is. It is far worse than any other country. It is. It objectively is. Um, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, China has done invasions. It is still doing some things that are not great. Like, from what I've heard, like supporting the Philippines government against the communists in the Philippines. But like, British Empire is worse. I don't know about that. I don't know if the British Empire is worse than the U.S. overall. Maybe you could make an argument about that. The fucking frustrating thing is that America portrays itself as this beacon of freedom and democracy, you know? Like that is what is so enraging, like how, which is what I used to think, you know? What is that the American empire portrays itself as the good guys, you know? And it's been very successful at that. It's been a very world successful propaganda movement. Yeah, it's just so bizarre to ignore history, and he's doing that because he knows. Like, what the fuck is he doing, dude? Like, like imagine the galaxy brain of just saying, "Oh, that was in the past." The past informs the present. Learning and understanding the past is how we can come to understand the present. How we can come to, you know, predict and expect whatever is coming, you know. And when we look at the US's past, it's important to do that because it informs the present. When we look at how many countries they've couped electorally and militarily, we can see that, you know, this is not a good guy. So just looking at the US as in like, um, you know, this is divorced completely from history, you know. History starts in 2022 with the Ukraine invasion or whatever, you know, and now it's all of a sudden the US is a good guy or whatever. It's just incredibly dishonest what he's trying to do. It's incredibly dishonest. And it's very obvious he's just trying to run defense for America. The Philippines thing is tragic because our comrades are dying, but it's a real politic decision to not alarm the international community that China is destabilizing by funding revolutionaries. I mean, that's what I assumed, but like, the USSR funded revolutionaries, right? Like, they would, you know, in Africa, they would fund revolutionaries, and, you know, that might be like destabilizing the world. I don't think it is. But you know, it's still a good thing, I would say, to not at least to not actively fund the Philippines, like to they didn't act. I don't think they actively fund the Philippines to kill the communist rebels. I think that's not what's happening, but they've given Philippines like weapon shipments. So yeah.
100%. Like that's not even questionable, you know? So that's like that's it. That's the only assessment.
It's not even questionable that the US is the most stabilizing force in the world. This guy is a fucking fascist. This guy is a fucking fascist, dude. Oh, let's play that again.
Talking about like modern China in any kind of, I don't care about the Vietnam War when we're talking about like modern day, who's the most stable on the global stage right now. If we're talking about like Russia, China, America is undeniably the most stabilizing force of those three, 100%. Like that's not even questionable, you know.
I'm sorry, I just can't. That's just incredible. That's just fucking incredible. Oh my god.
So that's like that's it. That's the only assessment. What I'm saying is that America is not the worst in terms of global genocide. I don't care. It's not a competition. Why is Ukraine different from Yemen or any other US military involvement? Because A, Russia keeps threatening to nuke everyone. B, Ukraine is a full-on landed ground war with another European country that borders several other NATO countries, thus massively escalating the threat of global nuclear involvement. Whereas US getting involved in Yemen does none of these things, not even close. Like, do you really think there's like any comparison between Ukraine and Yemen? Like there's any similarity between those two conflicts? U.S. isn't even in Yemen. We just sell weapons to the Saudis. Yeah, but we're on the hook for that. We implicitly support what's happening in Yemen. Aren't there?
It. Oh my God. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like the worst humanitarian crisis of the 21st century is happening in Yemen. Am I not wrong? I'm pretty sure that's like factually accurate. And he's just saying, "Oh yeah, what's happening in Yemen is nothing compared to what's happening in Ukraine." Oh my God. Yeah, I know. It's like he's talking about how like it's the threat of nuclear war. Nah, bro, it's because they're white. Like, come on, dude. It only matters because it's European. Like, totally. I've read, I like multiple times that it is like the worst humanitarian crisis of the 21st century. Like, mass famine. It's not good. And I'm not saying Ukraine is in a good state either. Obviously, it's war torn at this point, but it's not in the state that Yemen is in, and the U.S. is actively facilitating that. So yeah,
Strong geographic distinctions here. Is the U.S. more of a stabilizing force in Latin America than China or Russia? Well, at the moment, actually, considering the fact that Biden defended Lula and provided yeah, at this current moment right now, yes, but generally no. But again, by look, okay, when I talk about stabilizing force, what I'm talking about is how likely is it that they're going to end the world, okay? So, in terms of like threatened nuclear
oh God, he's opened the paint, guys. It's over. We're about to get schooled.
conflicts, nothing right now would cause the United States to initiate a nuclear war. Nothing. I'm serious when I say there is nothing we are threatening over, nothing we are posturing over. The only thing that could reasonably begin a nuclear conflict from our side of things would be a full invasion of the United States. That is it. That is the only thing. Full on, like, we are being attacked. This is bullshit. No, it's not. You are psychotic if you believe this is a pretty low bar for stability now. Yeah, well, too bad China and Russia can't meet it. The U.S. does nothing to stabilize South America. Oh my God! I'm going, ooh! Oh my God, what is wrong with you people? Do you know what a nuclear war would do? Do you have any idea how high the stakes are with a nuclear war compared to literally any other kind of engagement? Every bad thing you've ever...
Again, he's going on and on about nuclear war. He's talking about hypotheticals. He's talking about something that could happen compared to the actuality of what America is doing. And, yet again, China is not a country that threatens nuclear war. So, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
heard America doing would pale in comparison to the consequences of a nuclear war. It wouldn't even be close. Russia threatens to nuke us constantly. That's not what regional stability refers to. Then go to nuked Latin America and convince them that Russia was the stabilizing force after they send a payload of ICBMs into Europe because they're mad that they lost in Ukraine. No.
Wait, what? So Vosh is like the biggest neocon, send everything to Ukraine, take back all of Ukraine, destroy Russia, kind of guy. So, but he just has said that Russia is going to nuke us if they feel like we lost in Ukraine. So wouldn't that mean that you would want to advocate for a peace process and um, to give some concessions to Russia if you don't want to prevent nuclear war?
America and convince them that Russia was the stabilizing force after they send a payload of ICBMs into Europe because they're mad that they lost in Ukraine. No, obviously, regional stability is predicated on there being a region that is not nuclear charred glass.
So why the fuck is he always advocating to not make any concessions to Russia, to not get peace until all of Ukraine is taken back? Would that potentially lead to nuclear war? By his own logic, he just said that Russia might nuke us for, like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
You need a region for there to be regional stability. I'm clearly talking about, like, which country is most likely to end the world. And right now, the United States is just not going to. We're not. We're not going to do that. But Russia invaded Ukraine and threatens to nuke the world constantly. China is threatening to invade Taiwan for, and let me be clear, no reason. Well, actually, the reason being that they're about to experience a massive labor dip and they want some nationalist fervor to drum up public support in the absence of a growing economy. So they want to.
Oh my god, man. It's so funny because when China had its like one child policy, it was, criticized ruthlessly for, restricting freedoms and all that shit. And now that I can't, man. I can't with this guy. And again, actually, they have a very good reason to want Taiwan back. Like, it's one of the only even remotely justifiable like territorial disputes in the world that I know of. Like, yeah, he's such a fucking coping loser. Like, he's so angry that China's economy is overtaking the U.S. And so now he's saying China needs to invade Taiwan for its economy. Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? China's economy has overtaken the US at this point. So, what are you talking about?
To invade Taiwan for that reason. And even though they know that Taiwan has had a defensive pact with the United States for 50 years, which would absolutely risk nuclear war because we are committed to defend Taiwan against Chinese aggression, as we should be. So, like,
This guy is such a fucking piece of shit, man. He is such a fucking piece of shit. Now history matters, Now history matters because Taiwan's been in an alliance with the US for 50 years or whatever. Is he going to talk about why Taiwan still exists separately from China? Is he going to talk about how the US literally prevented China from taking back Taiwan from the Chinese nationalist fascists? This guy calls himself a socialist, and he is desperate, fucking frothing at the mouth desperate to portray China as the one that wants like a war.
they're the ones doing this. Right now, America isn't doing anything to threaten global stability in that fashion. What have we done in the past 20 years? Bad things, yes. But in terms of nuclear engagement, we invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, two non-nuclear countries, and we've participated in what's going on in Syria with some strikes. Syria's non-nuclear. There are some Russian troops there, but we mostly stay away from them. It's mostly we target like specific insurgent groups, and officially Russia's kind of in the whole thing anyway. Our engagement there has been relatively limited. Nothing nuclear.
Holy fuck, man. Like, he is engaging completely in hypotheticals. He's just saying, yeah, we fucking murdered millions of people in the Middle East We murdered countless people. But you know, there could be a nuclear war. Like, what is the difference between this and him in the Cold War being like, you know, yeah, the Soviet Union, I mean, no, yeah, we've fucking, you know, cooed every country in Latin America. We've murdered hundreds of thousands of people in there and Indonesia and across the world, right? But that's not nuclear war. You know, he'd be saying that about the Soviet Union. But the Soviet Union is threatening nuclear war with us all the time, which I'm not sure if they actually did that, but just hypothetically. Like, that's what he's doing right now. He's just saying, like, yeah, like, you know, those are bad, but nuclear holocaust? Nuclear holocaust? Oh,
The U.S. has killed a lot of civilians with drone strikes in Yemen. Yeah, that's not good. But Yemen isn't a nuclear country.
this is really the narrative he's going with now. Yeah, you know, that's not good, but you know, have you considered nukes? Oh, oh my God.
Country, not a nuclear country. The worst thing I can think of is the Trump-Iran thing, but were they nuclear? No. Iran is not a nuclear country. I guess we'll ignore Trump threatening the usage of nukes every 2 minutes. Seriously? First of all, no. Even Trump came even nowhere close. Not even remotely close. I don't know why you're being passive-aggressive with me. Second, he's not the president right now. If Ron DeSantis became president, then I would have a much a much like lower level of I don't know, faith in America.
This is socialist. Like, he doesn't. This guy calls himself a socialist. He doesn't understand that U.S. foreign policy between Democrats and Republicans is very similar. Like, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Noam Chomsky and everything he says, but he's pointed out that like every president has pretty much participated in regime change, like every single one, or in starting wars. So what the fuck are you talking about, dude? What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, Chad Alpha, we almost launched during the Cuban Missile Crisis. There, like, if JFK wasn't the guy in charge, if it was like fucking Ronald Reagan, like the world might be just a fucking like, you know, nuclear wasteland. Like, genuinely. There was like people in JFK's cabinet who were like, if there's one of us and none of them, then we win. But that's in the past. That doesn't matter anymore. Oh man.
Because like nuclear stability. And for three, even if he's making these threats, the Pentagon wouldn't go for it. The Pentagon is a
He has this fucking bizarre thing he's saying where like if the president wanted to launch nukes, like the Pentagon would stop them or whatever. Uh Even if he goes by that logic, couldn't other countries, you know, have like dissenters? The audio is really quiet for the video or for my voice. Oh, my voice? Okay. How about now? Better? We're better off without USSA. USA. True.
relatively non-politically controlled organization, compared at least to like Russia's military, which operates directly at the behest of the Kremlin, and China's military, which of course exists in a one-party dictatorship.
Oh my God. I mean, he's not even completely wrong that, like, the CIA, for example, is not completely connected to the president, but that's only because the CIA is, like, even more right wing than the president. It is political, you fucking moron. It is very political. It is very fucking far right fascist. Like, Eisenhower, from what I've read, was not a great guy, but the CIA went behind his back multiple times. I believe the same with Truman. But not to stop nuclear war, not to prevent foreign invasions, but to facilitate them, to facilitate regime change. And I assume the Pentagon is no different.
Leadership, the Pentagon is perfectly capable of rebuffing political advances. Do you genuinely think Putin would launch a nuke, or the command would even be followed by the people around him that aren't suicidal? Yeah. Yes. He's completely insane and ego-driven. He's already driven his country and Ukraine to ruin for literally no reason. And the Kremlin is incredibly powerful. He's incredibly powerful. And their systems are incredibly corrupt. Yeah. Do you seriously think that, like, all the stuff from Russia doesn't represent more of a threat to nuclear stability than the United States? The Pentagon is totally beholden to the president. That is absolutely not true. Dylan has convinced me they probably won't. Yeah, they probably won't, but America just won't. I don't understand what chat's getting so upset about. This is not a new take for me. This isn't like a Vosh angry... Like, I've been saying this since the beginning of the Ukraine war, and it's the reason why I think that America should maintain, like, military hegemony. It's specifically because China and Russia both keep threatening nuclear engagement.
Putin would not use nukes. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about Putin. He seems pretty far right, but that doesn't mean you're going to use nukes. He is so basing his analysis on, like, Putin's going to use nukes. Putin's going to use nukes. And remember, his reasoning was if Ukraine, and it makes perfect sense. That's the whole fucking insanity of this whole thing is that Vosh is hugely fear-mongering about Putin starting a nuclear war. Like, that's his thing. He's completely his whole narrative right now is he's completely saying, don't look at all the fucking genocides the US has facilitated in the past and present. Don't look at any of that, because guess what? Nuclear holocausts. What is going to more likely cause a nuclear holocaust than anything? If Russia loses the Ukraine war, if Russia is completely and totally defeated in the Ukraine war, that is the most likely thing that would cause a nuclear holocaust, right? So, by that logic, your platform, what you should be advocating for, is an immediate end to hostilities, an immediate beginning of peace talks, right? But Vosh instead is an incredibly rabid pro-Ukraine, send all the tanks, send all the jets, send all the missiles to Ukraine, right? So, but the thing is, Vosh just does not care about being consistent in the things he says. He doesn't care. What matters to him is, you know, being right in the moment, making his point in the moment. But he's just completely inconsistent here. He's fear-mongering about a nuclear war, while at the same time advocating for the exact thing that would cause a nuclear war, and that's because he doesn't care about nuclear war. He just cares about making the US look good and making Russia and China look bad, because he's a xenophobic, racist freak. And he is... And again, none of this would be all that surprising or angering if the guy didn't constantly call himself a socialist. That's what is so fucking annoying about it all. Oh.
For fuck's sake, there have been, like, the Russian conflict is happening across the border of multiple NATO nations right now. China is directly threatening to invade a country that we are pledged to defend. Does that not come across as more of a threat to you?
We are pledged to defend. The US has no fucking business in Taiwan. They have zero fucking business in Taiwan whatsoever. And then he says we're pledged to defend. He is such a fascist. He is so turned on by the idea of the United States fighting off the yellow threat from taking Taiwan. He is such a fucking fascist.
Guys, then what? Bombing Yemen? Maybe those Yemenis caves are actually hiding ICBMs. What, in terms of nuclear stability, there's no.
In May 2020, UNICEF described Yemen as the largest humanitarian crisis in the world and estimated that 80% of the population were in need of humanitarian assistance. In 2022, the World Food Programme estimated that 17.4 million Yemenis struggled with food insecurity and projected that it would rise to 19 million by the end of the year. Yemen has the second highest hunger score in the world. Oh, so yeah.
No comparison. Yes? I don't get you guys. Chat's full of leftist 101 freshmen, but I feel like we've talked about this before, haven't we? It would be more like if the US invaded Belarus or Iran due to the alliance closeness with Russia. Yeah, if we invaded Belarus, then obviously that would be as much of an escalation in a nuclear.
I only recently found out that at least part of Yemen used to be socialist. Yeah, at one point or another, a very large part of the world used to be socialist. Most or a lot of Africa used to have socialist parties. A lot of Latin America used to have socialist parties that were either in power or very strong, and the US completely fucking destroyed all of them. And that's one of the big reasons why I say the US is the most destructive power in history, maybe even more than the British Empire, is that not only did they, you know, horribly kill countless millions, but they also destroyed the chance of a better life for countless billions through socialism. It was the US directly who destabilized and destroyed countless socialist governments. So, yeah. And Vosh is like, oh, but that's in the past. That's not in the present. My God. Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
Nuclear sense as them invading Ukraine. Iran a little bit less so, but I think it would still be very high up there. New people. Okay, you're right. Okay, really quickly, just so everyone understands. Super quick, okay? All right, here, you're going to learn today, okay? Super quick, then we move on. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, listen. So, here's the thing, okay? America is bad in a lot of ways, but what a lot of lefties fail to appreciate is the fact that there are specific instances in which the United States actually legitimately earns some degree of its exceptionalist reputation, okay? Obviously, the size and strength of our military is one of those things, okay? Like, that's pretty clear. But the other one is the commitment to a global order. The United States is often chastised for being a kind of world policeman, and that is certainly the case. But since especially the end of the Cold War, there has been a great effort from the United States to deliberately scale back the level of threat that we experienced throughout the Cold War. Vosh, how exactly can you be against U.S.
Holy fuck. Holy fuck, man. That's wild, dude. The global order. America wants to establish a global order, dude. Oh my fucking god. What global order do they want to establish, Vosh? What kind of global... Oh my god. That's incredible, dude. I mean, this is what I say when I say like he's never gone this mask off. I feel personally I've never seen him go this mask off. Like even like 6, 8, 10 months ago when I committed the great change, the great embarrassment of being a fan, he wouldn't say stuff like this from what I remember. But he's just gone completely the global order. What global order, Vosh? What fucking global order, Vosh? They have Oh my god, dude. Like that is incredible. That is like the most incredible thing I've ever heard. That's amazing. Yeah, the Roman Empire might have been genocidal, but at least they made roads and created order. Oh my God. When the Roman Empire fucking collapsed, you know what happened when the Roman Empire collapsed? The living standards of the world, or of where the Roman Empire used to be, you know what they happened? What happened? They went up. They went up. And the same would happen if the US collapsed. The living standards of the world would suddenly drastically fucking rise because no longer would the IMF and the World Bank fucking destroy these countries through resource extraction. No longer would America just be outsourcing all of its labor to other countries. Those countries could actually build up their own economies independently. A global order. Oh my fucking God. The only global order is that America builds is we're in control. You give us all of the money, you give us all your resources, and you be happy with it because our military is bigger than yours. That's all America does. That's what they do. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? I think we should do that thing where you pick Hitler quotes and ask who they're from, but with Vosh and Churchill. Global order. The only reason the US is in Ukraine is to damage Russia. They're not in there for humanitarian reasons. They're not in there for any good reason that is like moral. They're just there to cause as much damage to Russia as possible. That's it. And to line the pockets of weapons manufacturers. There is no. That's why the US is not at all consistent in terms of, the morals he seems to be implying. That's why they're fucking, looting Syria. That's why they don't care about Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Yeah, he said American exceptionalism is in many ways earned. Those are words that came out of Vaush's mouth. Yeah, lots of synonyms for imperialism. Yeah. Oh my God.
Imperialism while believing the US should maintain its #1 spot. Listen, and you'll know. Okay. The problem is that world order stability is largely predicated on the stability of the countries that try to initiate it. And I don't know if you guys have heard this. Russia and China aren't democracies. Russia is an oligarchy, and China is a
World order stability is predicated on the stability of the countries that try to facilitate it. So he's saying that America is good for world order stability because America is stable? What the fuck is he talking about? What the fuck is he talking about? My God.
a totalitarian dictatorship. Both Russia and China have respectively invaded and threatened to invade countries that the invasion of would prompt a significant amount of global nuclear instability.
What are you talking about? Who has China invaded that it would cause a significant amount of nuclear instability? What the fuck? Dude, this guy does not care. He just talks. He just says words out of his mouth, and he knows his chat and his audience is so incredibly brainwashed and brain dead at this point that, well, no, I mean, some of them hit back at him, but oh my God. And the US hasn't. Yeah.
Russia constantly threatens to nuke other countries. Russia's nuclear doctrine
Still going on
includes the
about this.
possibility of nuking countries after retreating from territories they failed to conquer. Basically, if we can't have this territory, nobody can. China
You are literally, regardless of how true what he's saying is, he is literally making he's making the perfect case for instant peace with Ukraine, right? He's making the perfect case for give concessions to Ukraine. What is your strategy, Vosh, by telling the by wanting the U.S. to continue sending the military, sending Ukraine military aid, if Russia losing the Ukraine war is going to cause a nuclear holocaust, according to you? He's so incoherent. His ideas, the things he says. I talk about this in my video about him. The things he says will just change, not just from day to day, but like from minute to minute. Like he'll just say things that completely contradict each other because he doesn't care. He doesn't have a consistent worldview that is, like pro-socialist. His worldview is pro-America, but like in like a couch kind of way. So he's just going to say whatever he needs to say in the moment. And yeah, he's embarrassing himself. This is amazing.
Right now is engaging in increasingly internal nationalist fervor as a way of compensating for the fact that they can no longer maintain the massive economic growth that the CCP has ensured for its people since the 1990s. The GDP has gone up, but there's a limit to how much you can industrialize in that fashion. The cap-off point has to be somewhere. And what's more, due to their very intelligent reproductive policies, we are about to run into a massive economic slump for China. This is not like a crazy me thing. Like, this is not a Lockheed leftist take. This is a well-acknowledged future threat to the regime. Because the reason the CCP is so popular is in large part because there are so many Chinese people who remember growing up dirt poor during the 1980s. And then the Chinese Communist Party, after Deng, engaged in economic liberalization, and the country got a lot wealthier. But that can't happen forever. And if an economic
Oh, sorry, I wasn't playing the video, but he's speaking positively of economic liberalization.
slump happens, the CCP is aware of the fact that the Chinese people, considering the fact that their support of the CCP is predicated on economic growth, might stop liking them. And if they stop,
This is wild. Like he's openly saying like this is like I'm literally speechless. Like I don't even know how to react to what he's saying. It's so incredible. He's saying, yeah, Chinese Communist Party has drastically increased the living standards of the people. Therefore, they like the Chinese Communist Party. Do you think that maybe a country that drastically increases the lives of its people is actually a pretty stable and, good country? Have you seen America? Nobody's lives are improving in America, dude. Like, this is like the anti-USSR people when the USSR, it's the exact same thing. When the USSR drastically increased the quality of lives of countless people, people were just saying like, yeah, they only increased the living standards of people in Russia in the USSR because they want them to be loyal to the country. It's like, okay, so instead of just neoliberalizing the economy and exploiting them and, not creating a society where people's living standards can improve, they did do that. And that's a bad thing because I guess it was like just to gain approval. Who the fuck cares what the reason is for the people's lives improving? Who the fuck cares? The people's lives improved. And also, by the way, yeah, I don't know anything about. I'm not an expert on China, so I don't know. I mean, especially in the past, I know a good bit about China now, but I don't know about the Dengist and the Maoist policies and all that, and there's a lot of debate over what was good and what wasn't. I I don't involve myself in that. Um, what I do know now is that for its faults, China is a much better country on the world stage than the U.S. is. And I can't believe I even have to say this, but this is what Vaush is contesting, so I do have to say it.
Liking them, there might be internal unrest. Totalitarian dictatorships do not like internal unrest.
Totalitarian dictatorship is when I drastically improve the lives of the people of my country to a greater degree and at a faster rate than any other country has ever done in human history. Oh. Is that true? Has China had a faster rate of growth than the USSR? Because I've heard that, but I'm not sure.
So, for those reasons, they're considering invading Taiwan. This is insane. The United States has not engaged, and
He has not anywhere cited like provable fact that China is going to invade Taiwan, that China is likely to invade Taiwan. Literally all he is saying is China is going to invade Taiwan. But he hasn't backed this up in any way. And again, right? Again, if you didn't want nuclear holocaust, then you would not be advocating for invading Taiwan. I mean, you wouldn't be advocating for the U.S. defending Taiwan because if China just takes Taiwan, they're obviously not going to start a nuclear war. And you can say, oh, this is concessions, and then they'll just take more and more and more. By your logic, Vosh, nuclear holocaust comes before everything. That is what you're saying, Vosh. You are openly and repeatedly saying that nuclear holocaust is worse than everything else. So if nuclear holocaust is worse than anything else that could possibly happen, anything else, which is what you're saying, then by that logic, you would want to withdraw any military presence from Taiwan and let China just take Taiwan peacefully. To just reintegrate Taiwan peacefully back into China. But you're both saying, oh, ignore everything the US has done because the nuclear holocaust is way worse, and also saying, no, we gotta defend Taiwan, we gotta defend Ukraine to the last Taiwanian and the last Ukrainian. But he doesn't actually believe in that. He's just using this nuclear Holocaust thing, to distract from the US's crimes and to just bring all of the attention on Ukraine and all of the attention on Taiwan, when again, China doesn't even do nuclear war baiting. So, I don't know. The USSR's industrialization was faster. Early USSR versus early PRC, I would definitely agree. Yeah, I don't know. What I do know is that the two fastest growth rates for, life expectancy and all these different other metrics came in the USSR and China.
anything even approximating this level of nuclear brinksmanship. It is because the United States and its growth and its power are fully integrated with the systems of power that already exist in this world. If the United States wants to grow more powerful, more popular, more integrated, more connected to other countries, it can take advantage of pre-existing geopolitical and economic superstructures. That's because we are the global reserve currency. Yeah, we have the petrodollar. The US dollar is the global reserve currency. We are the center of the world in terms of the economy. And for that reason, things kind of work out for us. And countries that get along with us also tend to see things work out for them, even during
Could you guys hear the audio playing, by the way? Because I again forgot to show the video. Okay, good. At least you heard the audio. I'm gonna play that again because that's amazing.
Economic superstructures. That's because we are the global reserve currency. Yeah, we have the petrodollar. The US dollar is the global reserve currency. We are the center of the world in terms of the economy. And for that reason, things kind of work out for us. And countries that get along with us also tend to see things work out for them, even during times of instability. I don't think people appreciate how uncommon it is that in the United States we have been so relatively free of tumult, of revolution, of coup, of junta, of dictatorship, relative to other countries around the world.
It just keeps getting worse. My God. There's so fucking much to address there. Like, where do you even start? Where do you even start? Where do you even start? Holy shit. First of all, the countries that work with the US do not benefit from the relationship with the US. What the fuck are you fucking talking about? You fucking insane fascist. What the fuck are you talking about? Have you heard of the IMF? Have you heard of the World Bank? Working with the US, if you're not a European country, working with the US, what that means is neoliberalizing your economy and sending all your resources to the West, to Europe, to America. Oh my God, he really just said that. He literally just openly said live, if you work with the US, countries that work with the US benefit. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? What the fuck are you fucking talking about? I need to watch this again.
It can take advantage of pre-existing geopolitical and economic superstructures. That's because we are the global reserve currency.
Why are we the global reserve currency, Vosh? Why is America the world order? Tell me why. Because it built its strength off of exploiting. I mean, he is kind of right. The capitalist classes of other countries do get a lot of benefit from working with Western countries, not the people of these countries, but you know, I mean, but exactly. A country working with the US benefits immensely the upper class. But this guy is saying that it just benefits the countries, and he is a socialist. He calls himself a socialist. Oh.
Yeah, we have the petrodollar. The US dollar is the global reserve currency. We are the center of the world in terms of the economy. And for that reason, things kind of work out for us. And countries that get along with us also tend to see things work out for them, even during times of instability.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kami Frog, I keep doing that, but like, what the fuck? 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 He's really saying that. The guy's just gone completely mask off.
I don't think people appreciate how uncommon it is that in the United States we have been so relatively free of tumult, of revolution, of coup, of junta, of dictatorship, relative to other countries around the world. You know, even Europe has had some pretty extensive stints with authoritarianism in ways that we haven't.
He's talking about that like as if it's a good thing. He's just things kind of work out for us. Yeah. The only reason things work out for us is that the US has ruthlessly and to an unparalleled extent extracted resources from the third world to keep the first world and especially America happy, right? Like we have for its faults, America is a wealthy country. But that is only because of all the coups and juntas that we establish in other countries to take their resources. And yeah, this guy is speaking of like the America's stability as if it's a good thing. America is the empire. It is the core of the empire. The core of the empire is always the most stable because it's the most wealthy. It is the most wealthy because it extracts from the imperial periphery to keep the people in the imperial core satisfied. What the fuck is he talking about?
And a lot of this, I really think, is just because our people, the American people, as fucking stupid as they are, as unimaginably stupid and cruel and pig-headed and fat and dumb and idiot as they all are, the American people do have a kind of core mythology that can be relied upon to guide their behavior, and that is the ideology of American exceptionalism. American exceptionalist ideology is a bad thing, but it is also a stabilizing force in times of uncertainty, because the
So he's just openly admitting. I'm not. What is he trying to say? Like, he says it's a bad thing. He literally just said, American exceptionalism is a bad thing. But earlier on, he said American exceptionalism is a bad thing, which keeps the U.S. stable, right? But earlier on, he said America is the most stable country. It's the most stabilizing force in the world. Therefore, it's better than China and Russia. So if American exceptionalism, which keeps the U.S. stable, is a bad thing, then how is it also good that it's the world power if it's built off of American exceptionalism? If that stability is built off of American exceptionalism? See, I do not think he has ever gone this mask off. The USA never had a strong revolutionary working class movement to challenge its capitalist class. That's been why it's been stable. Well, the reason of that, though, is because it's the imperial core. So, yeah, I mean, people in the imperial core, like a larger population in America lives in comfort than in most parts of the world, right? So, yeah, there's not going to be a revolutionary movement while America is as rich as it is.
idea that your country is naturally exceptional can give you the impression that things are going to work out all right. I don't like American exceptionalism. I don't think it's a good attitude or ideology, but it exists and it has effects, and some of them trend towards stability. This isn't going to last forever. I have been one of the loud
Stability. What stability means to Vosh is neoliberalism, right? Imperial neoliberalism. So, establishing countries that basically just exist to give resources to the first world and militarily, making sure people don't revolt. Is the US even that stable? I think it's fairly stable. I think it's going to become more unstable over time. Um, but I mean, I think the biggest game changer is going to be climate change. I think that's really going to worsen stability across the world. Aren't there riots right now? It's kind of falling apart right now. I mean, I don't know. But doesn't a militarized police state, you know, that's what keeps the people down is is part of what I'm saying. Like you have the ideological state apparatus and the repressive state apparatus, and the ideological state apparatus and the repressive state apparatus combined is what makes up the US, and I think both of those are pretty strong. In 20 years, when Florida is underwater, that's when things are not going to be stable. Yeah, I mean, it'll probably be more than 20 years before that happens, but yeah, because climate change is going to trigger instability around the world, and when Americans can't get their hamburger, as they say, when Americans can't get all of their luxury resources like they used to be able to, that's when things are really going to start to become unstable. And that is when likely America will become more fascist, right? So that could very likely lead to the rise of a like even more right wing than Trump, like an even more right wing than Trump president who is like, you know, we've lost our power on the world stage. I'm gonna bring it back, right? And that's when America could really go like far right. Um, but who knows? Who knows at this point?
Loudest voices in saying that America might become fascist sometime soon. And if that happens, everything I'm saying right now becomes bunk. If we become fascist, it will be for the first time in our history that our democracy has properly collapsed. And everything I'm saying here becomes moot, essentially. But insofar as we are not a dictatorship, insofar as we are a democracy, it's important to understand that the paths forward for the American people do not involve nuclear brinksmanship. Our ways forward, our ways to growth, our ways to power don't involve treading that line.
Again, again, the answer to that statement is very obvious. Then why do you support the war in Ukraine continuing? Why do you support protecting Taiwan from China? Protecting Taiwan from China. Why do you support these things? If nuclear war comes before everything else, you would advocate an immediate withdrawal from Taiwan and Ukraine.
Not so with Russia and China. Russia and China are both currently engaged in behavior which suggests that the only way they feel they can maintain global relevance is with nuclear.
What the fuck? China is gaining global relevance. China has overpassed the US in terms of its economic power. So what are you talking about? Why would China want a fucking nuclear war?
Brinksmanship, threatening nuclear war, global annihilation of all people on Earth, both overtly and implicitly through the invasion of Ukraine, was the path that the strongman Putin decided was the best for him and his country. Which is insane, but it's what they did. And I hope you can all appreciate the fact that China threatening to invade Taiwan, again, purely to distract its own population, to get them riled up with nationalism, even though Taiwan has had a decades-long defensive pact with the United States, even though the United States has explicitly said, we will honor that defensive pact, they continue to threaten war. This is a massive threat to global nuclear stability. An invasion of Taiwan would bring about an unparalleled potential for global.
So, withdraw the US military from Taiwan, Vosh, because that is what you are establishing. You are establishing that humanitarian crises like Yemen and Syria don't matter nearly as much as Russia apparently causing a risky nuclear war. So, withdraw the military from Taiwan. Advocate for an end to war in Ukraine and concessions to Russia. I don't support Russia in the Ukraine war, but if you think continued war and Russia losing is going to cause nuclear war, Then why the fuck wouldn't you want an end to nuclear war?
Nuclear disaster. America is not doing these things. You understand? America may do a lot of bad things, but we are not in a position right now where we feel our path to maintained relevance and power is to literally, like, threaten to start war with a nuclear power. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how far away we are from that? Think of the nuclear-powered countries that exist on this planet that are not on good terms with us. Imagine if we actually started gunning up for an invasion of China. How psychotic would that be? But despite all the whining of conservatives, it is just not something that is being realistically considered on any level. That is what I mean when I say global stability. I mean that right now, America's path forward as a democracy and a country that is well integrated into existing systems of capital accumulation has no need for that kind of brinksmanship. Russia and China do, or at least they feel they do. That is what I am saying. This has nothing to do with Yemen. This has nothing to do with Vietnam. This has nothing to do with Libya. This has nothing to do with Yugoslavia. This has nothing to do with any of that shit. The potential damage done by nuclear conflict would be so great that historians would not even who would care? The bombings of Yemen. Oh, you mean that thing that happened 9 years before the end of the world? I remember. Oh, that was
That is a thing that is actually happening, you fascist piece of shit, pile of human garbage, disgusting fucking groomer piece of shit. The Yemeni human rights crisis is actually happening right now, and the US is facilitating it. Okay? There is no nuclear war right now. And also, you can care about both things to a great degree, but you were like completely disregarding Yemen. List all the military engagements in the last 70 years, but yeah, right, the US is the most stabilizing force in the world. Yeah, but Vosh is just saying ignore that. Ignore the past, ignore history. Don't think about any of that. Think about now and how there might be a nuclear war.
really bad. They would envy all the Yemenis who were drone striked. They would hear stories. Oh, they got blown up with bombs that didn't poison the land for 1,000 years after. Oh, daddy, tell me more stories of the bombing of Dresden. You're telling me they just got to die in a fire? They got to die real quick like. There wasn't poison in the air. Tell me more. Yeah, okay.
It's also, I mean, he's also just full of shit. Agent Orange, for example, in Vietnam, completely destroyed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people through, mutilating the fucking people. There's places where like wildlife still can't grow. Babies are born horribly common with horrific birth defects. But the thing is, you can't beat Vosh because he doesn't care about being wrong. He doesn't care about how often he is inconsistent. How he just doesn't matter to him. So it's like that's why he can just say shit like this, and if his chatter calls him out on it, he'll be like, yeah, but then he'll just come up with some fucking other thing to just, yeah, the nukes we used on Japan also. I assume that also caused horrific, birth defects and genetic deformities and so on. Oh,
I just well, there won't be historians, okay? Why is a nuclear victim from the UK? Because it's like a little Timmy or whatever thing. Orphan, little orphan. Vosh, China isn't threatening to nuke the US, and they would listen. Threatening to invade Taiwan is threatening nuclear war. There is no reason for them to invade Taiwan at all. There is no justification. Taiwan poses no threat to them, and we have said we will defend them.
this is what happens when you're like Vosh and the past does not exist. History is not a thing, right? There's no reason China would ever have any historical grievances with Taiwan. There's no reason that China might have to think Taiwan should be a part of China, even though it is like by far one of the most. Would I support China invading Taiwan? Probably not, because a lot of people would get killed still, regardless. But the idea, man.
Them. What they're saying is they're threatening to go to conflict with U.S. troops, which is absolutely a threat for nuclear escalation. U.S. efforts to maintain hegemony have never worked. This framework is not as stable as a properly internationalized reserve currency would be, for example. No matter how stable America is, internally fractures in U.S. power are inevitable. Yeah, we've never had full hegemony, but right now we are the hegemon. And it's certainly more stable than, like, throwing weight behind Russia or China. Hey, Vosh, I agree with you, but I think it bears mentioning very recently we were throwing around our own brinksmanship with Trump. He's a special case I met. Well, like I said, if the U.S. goes to fascism...
Remember, this is the liberal, right? Donald Trump is a special case. He was an aberration. I think Trump was more right-wing than a lot of presidents in his foreign policy, but at the same time, he actually never got the chance to do anything like Obama did in Libya, right? Like, Obama doing Libya alone is like arguably worse than all of Trump's foreign policy in the 4 years Trump was in power. So, yeah, US foreign policy is literally the same for the Democrats and Republicans. Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, not exactly. Like Ronald Reagan, for example, went fucking insane. Like his 8 years in office, the amount of shit that he did was like more than anyone else by far, but pretty much.
Then this is that, you know? That being said, the U.S., Trump, like, throwing out tweets where he threatens nuclear war, I don't think represents the same kind of institutional bias towards his whims there that, say, Putin would with their constant threats from the Kremlin. Not to mention, Trump
Kremlin.
doing his own thing is pretty different from, like, the Pentagon and the White House coming out with a statement threatening nuclear war, which would be the equivalent of what the Kremlin has done. I don't think China will invade Taiwan, though. I hope they don't. Invading Taiwan is tantamount to threatening the U.S. How? Why should the U.S. protect Taiwan? Because we have a defensive pact with them. We have for...
Because we have a defensive pact with them. We have a defensive pact with them. Of course we defend them. Why does the U.S. have a defensive pact with Taiwan, Vaush? Do you think it's because the U.S. wants a aggravating power on China's border? Do you think it's because the U.S. doesn't want China to become more powerful? Do you think it's because
50 years? What do you mean? What, we, the most powerful country on earth, are going to abandon our alliances because some totalitarian dictatorship just wants to like start a war for funsies? And
so he's going back to that. So then again, by that logic, following that exact logic, because you always say, you're saying that Holocaust, or nuclear Holocaust, I keep saying Holocaust instead of nuclear Holocaust, is worse than anything else. So don't worry about Yemen, don't worry about Syria, because nuclear war would be far worse. Why do you want to defend Taiwan then? He only uses this nuclear war excuse when it makes America look good. You know, he's like, Russia and China want nuclear war. Yeah, he always uses the word we when he talks about the US. He's always done that. He's always said we, us, America.
it is morally right to defend them, that's true. Oh yeah, all the microchips too. You don't want Taiwan to go down. God, that would suck. I mean, we abandon our allies all the time. Look at the Kurds. Yeah, but the Kurds are like...
And it's similar to how he always constantly refers to lefties and leftists, right? Like he constantly says things like that. He almost never refers to himself as a leftist. He will talk about the Twitter leftists, the Twitter lefties. You call yourself a socialist, dude. You are a lefty. You are a leftist. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, hey, what's up, fellow traveler?
A loose ethnic group, like a collection of like factions representing an ethnic group that wants independence in a region we can't provide them independence for, because no matter how much we support the Kurds, we can't take away the fact that a bunch of them are in Iran and Turkey, and we can't do anything about that. We have more sway over portions of Syria, which is practically lawless, and Iraq, which is an ally.
He's acting like the U.S. would want to give the Kurds like their own like republic or whatever. I don't know much about that conflict, but why would the U.S. do that? Especially when, from what I know, the Kurds are like their organization is pretty socialist and pretty left wing. Why the fuck would the U.S. ever help the Kurds establish like a socialist like republic? That what the fuck are you talking about?
Ally, but Turkey is insane and Iran is not an ally. So that's not really comparable to like the entirety of Taiwan. But yes, I agree. We shouldn't have abandoned them. The US can absolutely force Turkey to stop its genocide. Yeah, we can and we should. I fully agree with that. But like politically, that's not something we would go to bat for over like one independence cause, I don't think. Turkey's psychotic. I wonder if Erdogan loses the upcoming election, if it would be possible to move them over on that. Because Erdogan is like pretty much the origin point of all this bad shit. The entirety of NATO can be condemned for that one. I don't think I know that Turkey's contribution to NATO is purely its own geography, but man, I fucking hate Turkey, man. Worst NATO country by far. Worst NATO country. Even Turks hate Turkey. True.
Not the US, right? The US isn't the worst NATO country. It's fucking Turkey. Oh my god, dude. That's incredible.
True. Turkey.
We should make another Vosh is unironically evil video, except this time actually make it good. Yeah, wasn't that like a video by some like Doomer Media guy named Doomer Media? I watched some of it and it did not seem good at all. I still do think that my video on Vosh is probably, in my opinion, the best video that anyone's made about him, because it doesn't get bogged down in like his personal life or his personal stuff. I directly address, or I try to directly address how Vosh maintains his audience, how he gaslights his audience, how he lies to his audience by portraying himself as a socialist. What about Denki Kang? What about him? What do you mean?
He is playing both sides against the middle internationally. That's why they get away with so much. Yeah, which is like, man, imagine trying to do this both sides, like middle of the road bullshit after Ukraine, you know? Super dumb. Turkey is selling Russia sanctioned parts into, yeah, it's a whole thing. Now Turkey is working with Assad and Russia now to get green light to invade Rojava again. Okay, that's it. We're invading Turkey. How many nukes do they have? We should have never put nukes in Turkey during the Cold War. It led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Non-nuclear? They gave them away? They gave them away? I didn't realize they gave them away. Lads, have I got a proposition for you. How can you Article 5 when the Article 5 has already been called down on you? Who's up for liberating Turkey, huh? Huh? Yeah, we're going to rename it Constantinople. We're going to liberate Istanbul, and we're going to knock down the big flag that says Istanbul, and we're going to raise a bigger flag, and it's going to say Constantinople. And now I won't have to listen to the song anymore.
He's being ironic, guys. Get it? He's being ironic. He's not being serious. Of course not. That's another thing I should have talked about in my video that I didn't go in depth enough, is how much he uses irony. He weaponizes irony to, be like, oh, NAFO, bro, like, anarcho-NATOism, Dark Biden, Dark Joe Brandon. But he's not being ironic. It's a way for him to sort of dog whistle his true beliefs and to express his true beliefs, but to pretend it's irony, right? So it's sort of like a double layered irony. Like he's like, "Oh man, hell yeah, I love NATO, right guys? Anarcho-NATOism." But that irony is just a shield. It's just he's basically just gaslighting his audience. He's gaslighting the people in his audience who are not, actual full-on liberals or conservatives. He's making people think, oh, he doesn't actually believe this stuff. Listen to everything he's said this entire fucking video. He's talking about the American global order and how it's a force for good overall. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm not sure you can take him admitting to acting as an informant to the feds is out of context, but they will. Yeah, I think I've seen that clip. And again, he says it ironically. He says everything he fucking says ironically. But who knows if that is actually true? Like, I remember I had a conversation with you, Damon, in the Discord where you said like, I unironically believe, Vosh is like a Fed. And at the time, I wasn't like as completely like despising of Vosh. But now, the more I think about it, the more I do believe it is very likely, or at least very possible. You should have also brought up how he sends his audience to harass his detractors, people of color, and his sexual assault victims into silence. I did briefly mention that at one point in the video where I talk about how he says to harass tankies, but I didn't say about people of color or sexual assault victims. Or I did briefly, and I think I did link the Poppy document in the video for anyone that wants to look at that because it's a doozy.
Byzantium 2, absolute. An even bigger flag saying Byzantium 2. In what way does Turkey even benefit the U.S. politically at this point? Hold on, let me get a map. Because a map is all they have. Nice resolution. Okay, so you see how Turkey is like basically the land passage in from the Middle East over to Europe, and also there's a little bit of water right here that gives you access to all this water. That's the only water that Ukraine and Romania has, and also it's right next to Russia, and it's also very important and right here. We need, guys, it's time for Operation Butt Plug. The only way we can make Turkey irrelevant is to plug the channel. Okay? I'm telling you, a fleet of NATO bombers containing not bombs, but chewing gum. We're going to plug this hole if it kills us. Just dropping tons and tons of chewing gum to plug it up. Now one shipping container ship. Ah, yes, the tactical Suez. What was the name of that ship? The Evergreen. A tactical Evergreen. Yeah. Hello. It is me, big ship, looking to deliver supplies to Ukraine. Oh, it's my first day being captain. Oh. Oh, no. Oh, Evergreen's the company? Okay, whatever. Oh, help me, Step Turkey. I am stuck. The strait's too wide to block the canal. I will help you, my sister ship, Evergreen. It's my first day on ship 2. Oh! Are 2 ships enough? They say you can't drink and drive. I never heard you can't drink and boat. So stupid. How wide is the Bosphorus? Oh, wow, it's pretty big. Hello, we are 5 brothers with big ships. Oh, first day shipping. Oh.
Yeah, I think this is your cue to stop watching this. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, what have we learned? Vosh is just gone even more masked off, like right wing. Um, yeah, like the global order thing, the fact that he said like the US improves the lives of other people, just insane shit. We've learned absolutely nothing. Exactly. Exactly. That was so fucking good. Like, that is such good fucking content to just like lose your shit at. Like, I need to keep doing that. Um, um, so so next, I actually decided last second. There's this crazy history channel called What If Alt Hist. Um, he is like this. He is basically Vosh, but like he's basically Vosh, but more mask off, like more just like openly imperialist, openly racist, openly, and I know that's saying a lot, but he's very right wing. So I wanted to watch this video from him. I haven't, unlike the Vosh vid, I watched like half of that. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did. I haven't watched this at all, so I'm going in blind. Um, First, I'm gonna need a few minutes of a break, but um, then we will watch this video.
in Discord so I can see it without the delay?
Sure. Hello,
Cool,
everyone.
thank you. Hello.
Can you guys hear
Pull
us?
that up.
I'm here with with my friend Famous Horse.
Hello. Oh yeah, it's probably just the settings for the collaboration camera was messed up.
How about now? Hello?
Huh?
Will I upload this stream to my channel?
Can hear but voice is quiet. I'll just talk closer to my microphone then. Is that better?
Will you upload this stream to your channel? It'll be in live. On my channel on YouTube. You can go to live and it'll be there. And I was thinking of maybe editing it and uploading it, or parts of it at some point. I do not know for sure if I will do that or not. I have a lot of videos to release. I've got like 7 videos that are done or mostly done that I still have to release. So I've got a big backlog. So
Jesus
we'll
Christ,
see.
man.
Yeah.
That's a lot. I mean, I have a huge backlog of videos too, but it's not. They're just like stream edits, you know.
Yeah. People are talking about Hassan. Yeah, I think Hassan's pretty cool overall. I think his recent take on the Harry Potter Legacy game is really stupid. Calling everyone who
Having a complete
criticized
fucking
him
meltdown.
for being like woke scolds and shit is pretty lame. But
Yeah. Yeah. Homie's having a meltdown. I
yeah,
don't know what's up with that, but
not good. Not good.
certainly a bad time to release a video with him as a star too.
Yeah.
So what's this video here? What if communism never existed by what if alt hist? Just a useful rule of thumb. If it's an alt history channel, it's usually run by a Nazi. Just like, you know, good rule of thumb. Not always, not always.
Yeah.
By the way, you're sharing your OBS to me rather than the window, the browser window. You can just go.
Let me
Yeah,
share
change which window's
screen
being shared.
window.
There you go. Yeah, so you're currently learning the thing that made me suffer for months, which is if you have a full screen browser with YouTube, if you mouse over to any other application that's full screen, such as OBS, it makes the screen go black.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's why it's like cutting in and out on visual.
Famous Horse is a Twitch streamer, by the way, so if you're into that, check him out on Twitch. He helped me set up a lot of this. He's a cool guy. So.
Oh, thank you. I wouldn't go so far as cool, but yes, no problem. I mean, you're a YouTuber, not a streamer, so I've asked you questions about YouTube stuff, and you've asked me questions about stream stuff. I think it's only fair.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah. Alt history. I made a video about this guy.
Alt-right history.
Yeah, alt-right history, yeah. Yeah, I used to be into alternate history when I was younger too, but you really outgrow it fast because it's just it's kind of pointless. And I know that sounds mean, but it's just a very, I don't know. It's sort of nice to imagine alternate histories, but it's really when it comes to actual history, it's very weird.
It's weird to do, and like most of the alt history stuff has, you know, a strong right bent, in a lot of the channels I've seen. And I mean, this thumbnail or this title, like, damn. By the way, did you already watch the video about Atomic Heart?
I watched a lot of it live when you were on stream, yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, that that thing made me fucking absolutely batshit insane watching that.
Yeah, I was thinking about maybe watching just part of it again, the themes part, and the lesbian robots part, because that was like
the
just
lesbian
so funny.
robot part was so funny, where he like the guy like has zero argument, and he just kind of insinuates that because the robots are ladies and they touch hands, that they're lesbian, and like his only evidence is just him saying that, and therefore Atomic Heart is sexualizing lesbians. That's right.
Yeah. Wild
That's right.
stuff.
Yeah. You know what? I've been I had it suggested to me that for me streaming Atomic Heart, I go ahead and buy a silver bodysuit, get get the Slavic hair braid wig, and just go for it. Just I get to be the sexy robot on stream.
Go for it, baby.
Go
Sounds
for
awesome.
it. Yeah. So let's check this video out.
Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
I have not seen this. I don't know what is in it.
I'm
I
looking
know
forward
this
to
guy's
it.
crazy though, so we'll see. We're in for a ride.
Communism was one of the most important movements of modern history. At a certain point, a third of the human race was controlled by it. And one of the greatest superpowers in history, one that held life and death over billions, was also communist. This entire philosophy was based upon Karl Marx, a downwardly mobile German intellectual of the mid-19th century. This really begs the question, what if communism never existed? How would that affect the rest of history, demographics, culture?
Subtitles on then.
The audio's quiet or something?
No, I'm not getting the audio.
Oh shit. Okay.
Is it capturing that? I know this is like scuff stream stuff. Is it capturing just the window?
And
I guess so. Oh, maybe I can share audio. Yeah, share system audio.
There you go. That should work.
Sorry about this, y'all.
Oh, that's
in
my
the
curse.
world today.
I show up and I make
That's the question
audio
of this
fucked
video.
up. Yeah, usually what I do when I'm sharing in Discord is I go and I like share your screen and share the browser windows specifically.
Is it not doing that now? God damn it.
I'm not sure if it is. You guys can hear it, but I can't. All right.
Here, let me try this one more time, and let's see if this works. How about now?
Now I can hear it. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, we're in business, baby. Let's go.
All right. Let's go.
Before we start, this alternate history video was sponsored by an alternate history card game. Forks in the timeline.
His audio's dog shit.
Yeah.
His audio's such dog shit.
So let's shoot the elephant in the room. If you watch more than a little of this show, you know I'm a vehement anti-communist. However, That's
also not the idiom. Let's shoot the elephant in the room. Oh, smart guy.
So he places himself on the what? Is that like the right libertarian?
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely placed himself in the why do we have age of consent laws section of the political compass.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this guy is the same guy who's gone on like a tirade on Twitter about how people won't all the girls he picks up on Tinder or whatever, like what are just want to use him for their own careers, like their own influencing careers. And the idea of that is so fucking funny. The idea of
exactly.
Girls somehow knowing who he is, like looking him up online and being like, yeah, man, this right libertarian weirdo racist guy, he's gonna be the key to my career, my online influencing career.
Right, what's even funnier is like, dog, look at your channel. This is like the worst graphics and editing I have ever seen on a channel this size. Like, it's a testament to how low the bar is for media consumption that like a channel like this has more than like 1,000 subs.
Yeah, no, I talk about this in my my video about the guy. It's insane. His numbers are fucking insane.
Yeah, it makes me feel a lot better about my shitty editing. I spent like so much time and I'm bad at editing. I'm like, man, I'm never holding up to the standard. No, never mind. I should actually try less hard.
Yeah.
This is entirely justified. I mean, communism killed something in the range of 90 million people in less than 90 years.
No, it didn't.
Let's see this.
Okay. I'm about to piss myself. All right. Hold on. Wait, come back for just a second. Okay, so North Korea. Okay, presumably he's talking about the famine that happened during the 90s, in which case that was entirely a result of U.S. economic actions. If he's talking about the Korean War, once again, that was the United States. Cambodia, Khmer Rouge, not communist. Russian Civil War? He's crying about the fucking whites getting murked? Alright.
Yeah, I don't even know what that on the right means. The red, white. I know what
No,
the
he's talking
Russian
about the
Civil
Russian
War
Civil War.
was. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
that's what he
but
means.
Chinese 7 million in the Russian Civil War? Vietnam 3.5 million in the Russian Civil War? What?
Presumably that's bad parsing, and he means that the Red-White Civil War killed like 9 million Russians, which, source. Also, his sources are Atrocities by Matthew White. Amazing. Yo, these are numbers that would make the State Department go like, hey, chill out, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Million people in less than 90 years. Nothing else, including capitalism or all religious and colonial wars.
So for capitalism, the only thing that counts and the only thing that you can measure are the Atlantic and Arab slave trades. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
Everyone who dies because they can't get antibiotics or clean water, that doesn't count. Just the slave trade.
Are you serious right now? That's amazing.
Amazing. Also, counting Western colonialism separate from capitalism, because obviously, if he included imperialism and settler colonialism as like the same thing as Western capitalism, then his numbers wouldn't look right.
Yeah, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, what the fuck is he going on about? 33 million
impressed.
Capitalism. What the UK did alone in India, just taking alone what the famines the UK caused in India and stuff, are more than, like, double all of the deaths that communism has ever caused, so-called.
Dude. Yeah, the guy's not good at math.
Combined gets even close to that number. For a comparison, the Nazis killed somewhere in the range of 12 million. If you want to blame all the deaths in the European theater of World War II on Hitler, you get 40 million deaths, which ties him with Chairman Mao. All the Marxists—
Oh my god, he's actually left wing of a lot of fucking people, because a lot of people, they literally only count the Jews. Like, they would literally just say, like, Stalin killed 40 million, Hitler killed 6 million. I am actually surprised that he actually was honest enough to actually include the 27 fucking million dead Russians in fucking,
he
like,
did it condescendingly.
4 years.
And it wasn't just Russians, it was just Soviet citizens.
Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, Soviet citizens, not just Russians. My mistake.
Right, and he did so condescendingly. He's like, if you want to
blame
the Nazis...
That. Yeah, he's like, if you want to include... Why would you not include at all? Why would you even be hesitant of including the Nazi invasion of the USSR? Like, oh my god.
In the comments are gonna say that wasn't real communism, but that's an argument that can work for any failed ideology. That wasn't real fascism. That wasn't real theocracy. That wasn't real...
No, it was. First of all, it wasn't communism. It wasn't literally communism.
It was an attempt
socialism.
at building.
Yeah,
it was an attempt at building communism.
Yeah. And this is why I left comms kind of annoy me too, because this is the argument they make, right? Like, they'll be like, oh, what the USSR wasn't real socialism, you know. That doesn't work on a lot of people, because then they'll just say, oh, you're just making excuses, you know, you're just saying...
No true Scotsman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because, they haven't dealt with anti-communism as a significant psychological force within them. So they're like, well, I like the idea, but the Soviet Union, evil, bad. So my position is, I'll say it's not socialism. Banger.
Yeah. He said 1.4 mil for Yugoslavia. The Yugoslav partisans fought the Nazis, so he's counting Nazi deaths as communist deaths.
Yep, he probably is. Yeah, he probably is. Good catch.
Yeah.
This
is fun so far. This is good already. Oh, man.
Real Inquisition. Similarly, people say communism failed due to blank variable rather than just throwing out the whole philosophy. However, if we're running an experiment...
Oh, here's one of his maps. Let's see.
Communist by choice. Communist by conquest. Oh, yeah, man. Hell yeah, let's go.
Fascinating.
Mm. The mind of a reactionary. It's truly a
Experiment.
impressive thing.
Communism has been tried on basically every.
So what is the difference between communist by choice and communist leaning? Like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, a communist sort of by choice? Like, what, what does that mean?
I don't know. I'm guessing he's implying that, like I guess just social democracy, probably, just like mild social democracy. I don't know.
Every variable. There have been upwards of 18 communist nations, existing in every climate, every continent, every civilization. For the people saying Mao and Stalin were bad apples, there have been Marxist states operating on entirely different trajectories, such as Albania or Yugoslavia, and you could throw a dart at the countries that are on their own trajectory in socialism in the third world. If you wanted perfect experiments, you'd look.
He didn't even contest what he said. He said you can say that Mao and Stalin were bad, but there's tons of other countries on their own trajectories. Okay? He doesn't even say if that's a good or bad thing. He just said that. It's like, okay.
Obviously, that's bad.
Look at North Korea and East Germany. Both shared the same ethnicity, culture, level of development, rough geographies as their capitalist twins, and both were immeasurably poorer and more politically repressed. If we're going to use...
I mean, first off, the north of Korea is much more mountainous and has way less arable land, in addition to the fact that most of the productive capacity of Germany was in the Rhineland, which was not in East Germany.
And both were immeasurably poorer and more politically repressed. If we're going to use Occam's razor, there's really only one answer. If you're a communist, feel free to watch this video and criticize it, but this video is going to be coming from a markedly anti-communist perspective.
You know what? Kudos to this fucking guy. Kudos for being honest. Unlike Vosh, who is the complete opposite, and who will say the most fucking far-right, pro-imperialist things constantly on stream in front of his audience. Yet he'll constantly call himself a socialist, and anyone who disagrees with him a fascist.
That's right. I mean, basically, at least this guy's like, listen, I fucking hate communism.
Honestly, dude, I so much prefer that. Like in my comments, like the comments I get that are like, kill yourself, Tanky, or like, go die, or, you're a horrible person, you Redfash, Tanky. That is so much better than the concern trolls who, like, pretend to, like, care about socialism, but then they turn out to just be, like, trolling you, which is another video I'm making. But, yeah.
I'm also going to make something else clear in this video. This video is not what if the whites won the Russian Civil War. In that timeline, Russia becomes a parliamentary democracy and prevents other countries like China from becoming communist. The gist of the video is that without communism, China modernizes several decades earlier, while Russia becomes an economic juggernaut. The world would currently be in the midst of a three-way Cold War between Russia, America, and China. This video has...
Whoa, bro!
What?
You just skipped so much time in history. Like, could you do a build-up to that? Like, how did it build up to that situation? What the fuck? Is he gonna build up? We'll see, I guess.
A lot of overlap with that video, but this video starts earlier, with Karl Marx never being born or becoming an investment banker. Some of you might think that these would end up becoming the same timeline, with the first real big effects of communism being during the Russian Revolution, but I would disagree. The last 200 years have been an era of massive ideological turmoil. As traditional religions like Christianity went into decline, new ideologies arose to give people purpose and metaphysical understandings of the world. These included things like Nazism, communism, and you could even put modern social justice in the same category. Communism...
What?
Homie just said that social justice is an ideology equivalent to Nazism.
Yeah, I mean, he added an asterisk,
communism.
like, to say it's not committed anywhere near the same atrocities, but, like, what the fuck are you...
Atrocities Oh, okay,
social...
whatever, buddy.
Like, what the fuck? Why do you even need to say that, like, in the first place? Any of that?
You could even put modern social justice in the same category. Communism really spoke to people during industrialization, when traditional village ways of life that existed for millennia suddenly disappeared in the matter of a generation. Similarly, a few became very wealthy while many lived in horrific slums and toiled for 12.
Also, he seems to be implying that, from what he said earlier, that communism would never exist if Karl Marx was never born, which
Which
is
is
just
silly.
not true. It might have different phrases or names to a lot of the ideas, like, right? Like, we
Mm-hmm.
all know he was immensely influential, right? But, like, all he's pointing out was, like, material reality, right? Like, all he was pointing out was, like, the contradictions of capitalism, right? And how this leads
Right.
to socialism. I'm not a huge theory guy, right? Like, that's my thing is more history, but,
I
like,
mean, like, Marx was not the first person to notice inequality exist, or to notice that there was mechanics, or to notice the way capital accumulated, right? He was building on what's out there, so.
yeah, I mean, he was I think the first scientific socialist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, before him were the utopian socialists, but other people would have come after him, right? Like, even someone like Lenin, he might not have had Marx's ideas specifically, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there wouldn't have been a socialist revolution, or maybe it would have been called a Bluegalist revolution, right? Like, who the fuck
The
knows?
Blugalism.
Bluegalism, But,
Yeah,
like,
I'm an ardent Blugalist.
I'm a NATO Bluegalist,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an interesting question, to think about how things would have gone. But, like, yeah, everything is, yeah. If Marx hadn't existed, there would have still been socialist revolutions, even if by a different name, because all he's pointing out is, the contradictions of capitalism will increasingly heighten or whatever, and a socialist revolution is necessary. It's either socialism or fascism. That he's just talking about, like, material reality, right? And he didn't predict everything perfectly, but he predicted a lot. He thought, he kind of argued, I think, that socialism would have come to some extent by now, but, imperialism and all of that has made it so that that's not happened yet, because we extract from the third world and we use military force to keep people down, all that stuff. But yeah.
12-hour days. The early stages of industrialization are often driven by rural population surplus, meaning wages were kept low for factory workers as human labor was cheap. Some new ideology would have shown up to speak to people in these new circumstances. We just have to figure out what it would be. Barring minor variations on communism, I'm guessing it would be Christian socialism. The first monasteries were originally communistic, and
What?
Christianity speaks strongly against the search for profit. Communist-like movements in which the leaders pronounced the division of property and sharing everything in common with their followers are innumerably common in the history of Christianity. They've continually popped up with remarkable frequency, normally fizzling out. The most notable example being the early Anabaptists in 16th century Germany. In fact, there's a very interesting theory propounded by the historian Carroll Quigley that the right-left divide in the West is based off the divide in Christianity between the traditional Christianity that many of the early church fathers propounded and Augustinianism. The first position holds that man was inherently good and needed gentle guidance. We would all be in heaven if we could learn to share and love. The Augustinian view was pulled originally from Manichaeism, and says that mankind is inherently sinful and the world is an endless struggle between the forces of good and evil. Force and discipline are needed to crush evil. This debate has been wrapped up in terms of Hobbes and Rousseau in recent centuries, but has been central to all of Western civilization. Communism is basically dependent upon the first view of humanity, that humanity is basically good and altruistic and sharing will make things better. You might be thinking that the rise of science resulted in the decline of Christianity and other traditional religions, and that's what happened in our world, but I don't think it had to happen, at least not in the time scale it did in our world. Religion was remarkably strong before the world wars. The Western world was actually in a strong religious revival in the 19th century. Christianity, although in a deist form, is even strong among intellectuals. Similarly, in the last century, an era of massive technological progress has also been an era of immense religious.
What do you think about that, Horse? Christian socialism.
Christian socialism, he says. That would have been the hot wave of the future. Christian socialism. Wow. This guy, he's an intellectual titan. I don't think there's any way I could ever compete with this guy in a debate. His his brain is so powerful that he's capable of thinking of 10,000 pointless and irrelevant hypotheticals a second. A power that my mere mortal frame is simply unable to comprehend.
Yeah, I think a more interesting question would have just been like, what if Karl Marx was never born or something? I think that would have been interesting, but assuming communism never existed is to me like an impossibility, right? Like
Hmm.
it just might have a different name and it might have different phrases, but I don't really think
The
things would.
the material conditions would have brought something along, right? But
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's really funny though that like this really shows how deeply this guy, this alt history guy is in like the great man of history kind of idea, because he just kind of assumes, right, that
It's an accident of
only
history. That's what communism is.
right
It's an
that
accident.
right that like it required some sort of perfect powerful mind in order to craft it from the aether and bring it to us, and that like without this individual, this great man creating it, it could have no one could have ever had the same idea, right? Like,
Yeah,
okay, it's like, do you think in a world without Steve Jobs, nobody would make smartphones, right?
yeah. I mean,
That's stupid.
is
And they're pointless hypotheticals.
yeah, because if we look at like, because socialist movements, I mean, like Baathism, for example. I do not know much about Baathism, but isn't Baathism pretty religious? Isn't it Islamic, or am I wrong?
I don't know a ton about Baathism.
Okay,
Baathism is usually fairly secular, if I remember.
okay.
But I mean, there's like always different permutations of things. Like I don't know, it's kind of silly.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I know Christian socialism is a thing, but I don't
Hmm.
really imagine it ever gaining all that much power because,
Hmm.
Lenin made a really fucking good point when he talked about religion
Yeah.
and Marx being the opium of the masses because, like, if
Right,
you,
which gets misinterpreted all the time, right?
yeah, but like if you follow people following religion, it makes them not care about the material conditions in this life, you know?
Well,
It
even more
argue,
directly, it ameliorates the suffering, right? It provides a and there's an important role I think for spirituality and spiritual traditions
yeah,
on the left, but it's this kind of idea that religion provides a relief from the suffering of living under oppressive material conditions, right? Because it's providing a psychological comfort for you that there is a purpose and meaning to that suffering that is not causeless.
yeah, yeah. No, I
Yeah,
totally agree that
and
religion
for
has a
sure.
role to play. But back in like Tsarist Russia, like Lenin's argument was like people are escaping to religion to just say like, oh yeah, my life sucks here, but when I die, I'll go to heaven, right? So like,
Yeah,
I don't really want to, displease the Orthodox Church under the Tsar by rebelling, because then I might not go to heaven, and at least I can look forward to heaven. My life might be shit
right,
now, but so Lenin's argument was we don't want to abolish religion. Lenin did not want to abolish religion, but what he said
right.
was religion needs to be decommercialized, it needs to be separated from the state, and it shouldn't be really encouraged because what that does is um, it it gives people an escape, right? Like they just go like, oh, well, like in the next life, in the afterlife, I'll be happy. Um,
And
and
also,
religion. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, very particularly too, though, the Russian Orthodox Church is the Church of the Tsar. It is the Church of the Tsar, and like Tsarism and the figure of the Tsar is very central to Russian Orthodoxy. It's
Mm-hmm.
very reactionary church. So it's very impossible to separate, at least was, in my opinion, the material substance of the Christian tradition from Tsarism and reaction. Right? They're part and parcel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were very closely entwined, which is why he was
Mm-hmm.
extremely about separation of
Mm-hmm.
church and state, basically. Um,
growth in areas like Africa, Latin America, the Islamic world, and the American red states. Religion and science can coexist, they just need to figure out parameters by which they can cooperate. Before World War I, the general idea was that Christianity would control social mores and science would be used for material questions like technology, politics, etc. This view collapsed since A, the world wars were so horrifying that people lost faith in traditional ways, and B, that the worldview offered by Marxism was far more attractive to the intelligentsia. This was because Christianity offered a worldview where humanity would always be subordinate to God, and humanity had to change their actions for God's will. Meanwhile, in the Marxist dialectic of history, the revolution of the working classes and communism would be inevitable, with those leading the charge, namely intellectuals, being the anointed. This is the big reason that academia...
No. I mean...
Not really, no. Also, he just says that, like, dialectics are inevitable, or viewed as inevitable. And then he says, you know, but we wouldn't have had communism without Marx.
Yeah, I think he's saying the communists view the dialectics
yeah,
as
no, I know.
But, yeah. I mean, plenty of major communist leaders were, like, well off, right? Like, they weren't poor, but they were also, of course, it was a always heavily working class movement. I think he's talking about the Vanguard Party, right? And he's saying, like, the intellectual elites. But, like, the Vanguard Party is only a small part of it, right? Like, they start things, but the working class as a whole is what actually facilitates the revolution, right? Like, the Vanguard Party can't do what they do without the working class, you know, of which the working class is a part of the Vanguard Party in the first place, in many ways.
Is so decisively left-wing today, around the world. The secularization of society was mostly a top-down move. Among European Protestant churches, for example, the move mainly occurred in the 1960s as the clergy became heavily Marxist and started to use the churches for political causes.
Wait, what? The clergy became Marxist? Where?
Left-wing today, around the world. The secularization of society was mostly a top-down move. Among European Protestant churches, for example, the move mainly occurred in the 1960s as the clergy became heavily Marxist and started to use the churches for political causes.
What?
The congregations who were using...
What? The clergy became Marxist?
Okay, clearly he's talking about, like, liberation theology in certain places in, like, Latin America. But, like, what? The church became Marxist. Holy shit, guys. The church became Marxist. This whole time. This whole time, we should have been allying with the church.
Yeah, the Catholic Church had a heavily communist section after World War II. I have never heard of the Catholic Church having a heavy communist section.
No, it was the liberation theology, which isn't exactly communist, but yeah, it's.
And he said in the 1960s. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's probably referring to liberation theology in Latin America. Come here, Jade.
Yeah, and he's not talking about any geographic region. He's just saying the Catholic Church. Like when that's also sounds like, oh, did he say Europe?
The world. The secularization of society was mostly a top-down move. Among European Protestant churches, for example, the move mainly occurred in the 1960s as the clergy became heavily Marxist and started to use the churches for political causes.
Okay, so he's specifically referring to European Protestant churches in churches. Okay.
All right.
The congregations who were using them mostly for community building simply left. In this timeline without Marxism, intellectuals would stay on the right like they were before World War I. Instead, the vacuum would be filled with Christian socialism,
all were on the right, he says. Okay.
Karl Marx famously didn't exist. I think there were lots of left-wing intellectuals, and I think you also have to consider the material conditions of the fact that back in the 1800s, the 1700s, if you were a left-wing intellectual, you're gonna really struggle to actually have anything that you write get public or popular, because the whole economy and everything is built off of, imperialism and slavery and all these different things, and going too far in the left, whatever that means, you're gonna struggle to, actually have a
I mean,
platform.
he's like leaving out, like the Jacobins and the entirety of the intellectual tradition prior to and after the French Revolution, or the diggers and levelers, or I mean, whatever, right? He's just kind of it is one of those things where he just is kind of saying things.
Yeah.
And he also said that people left churches because people only went to churches for community building, and Marxism is anti-community building, so they left when the churches became Marxist. Yes, that's the thing Protestants are famously known for in the West, being Marxist. That's right. All the evangelicals, they're actually Marxist. I'm learning a lot from this video.
Have you fucking heard of like Max Weber's like theory that Protestantism led to capitalism or whatever? That's like the vibes I'm getting from this video, but it's instead like Marxism, Protestantism causes Marxism or something. Like fascinating.
In socialism, which actually was a fairly large movement in the late 19th century, with groups like the Fabian Club and even H.G. Wells being Christian socialists.
Oh god, the Fabian.
In our world,
god,
Christians.
Okay.
What's the Fabian
I'm not
Club?
even gonna talk. It was just like a social democratic group, the Fabian socialism, but Fabianism has become like a core tenet of like every right-wing conspiracy theory about cultural Marxism.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Socialism has been a big movement in Latin America and with European politics as well, with the ruling German party today being Christian socialist.
What? Do you think they're actually socialist? Do you think Angela Merkel is socialist? Oh, if you do, then boy howdy, I got an NFT to sell ya.
Likely wouldn't be an entirely rainbows and unicorns movement. There was so much dissatisfaction due to the war, and Christianity has a long history of millenarianism and violent outbursts. Imagine, rather than the anarchists of our timeline, Christian socialist fanatics thinking that if they killed blank important figure, who was the Antichrist, the world would be saved. Christianity filling the void would make the Western world more right-wing, sort of similar to how the Islamic world has gone hard right in the last couple decades. Ironically, our timeline's economic right would likely take the position of being the party of secular Enlightenment values. Due to the more conservative values,
he says so many things so fast, like I don't even know how to respond to a lot of the things he says because
he just
says
throwing
thing
a lot of bullshit
after
on
thing
the wall real
after
quick.
Thing,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, dedicated centrists. I'm gonna have to hop off in just a couple of minutes though here, so I want to watch a little bit more of this because it's time to do 10-man hard modes. I know, I'm doing, chat, I apologize, I'm doing more WoW this week because we're trying to finish Prague, so. I can hear their judgment, Kem. I can hear the chatter's judgment.
Alright, we'll try to get through what we can before you have to go.
We might see the survival of constitutional monarchies to a greater extent. Religious societies of higher social cohesion as people are able to form communities of the religious as well as easily get purpose in their lives. Much of the post-1960s boomer trends of children rebelling against their parents, punk goth culture, school shooters, etc. are examples of a post-religious society where there's no clear value system and people are trying to figure out what the value system should be. The side effect of getting a value system would be you can say goodbye to stuff like rock and roll, sweatpants, and sex and violence on TV. Similarly, the Christian understanding of the world wasn't great to homosexuals or Jews. In another way, it would make the Western world more socially left-wing. This is since a lot of the reasons the communists get so hated is they go against religion, the family, Western civilization, and basically any form of tradition, which gets them hated because most people use those things to base their identity. When couched in conservative terms that would not threaten the general population, all of the Western world would have larger social programs. My guess is that the weaker the peasant culture would be in a country, the less...
No.
What? The social programs were in result to the Soviet Union and the increased labor movement.
What gets them hated because most people use those things to base their identity. When couched in conservative terms that would not threaten the general population, all of the Western world would have larger social programs. My guess is
the only reason the Western world, so-called, has social programs is because after the USSR came to power, Horst and I have talked about this before, but like countries in Europe were fearful of their own countries having revolutions. And so these countries, to prevent revolutions in their countries, they made certain concessions to the people, right? They made certain social democratic concessions to prevent a full-on revolution. But he is saying if there was never communism, the world would have more social programs, because I don't even know what his reasoning is. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's hard to follow what the fuck he's saying. Did you catch why he said there'd be more social programs?
No, he just said would.
A lot of the
As far as
reasons
I
the
can tell.
communists get so hated is they go against religion, the family, Western civilization, and basically any form of tradition, which gets them hated because most people use those things to base their identity. When couched in conservative terms that would not threaten the general population, all of the Western world would have larger social programs. My guess is that the weaker the peasant culture would be in a country, the less popular Christian socialism would be. This is since in countries like the UK, the indigenous Protestant church has established a capitalist value since the peasants were done away centuries with before. Meanwhile, areas like Germany or France, who are able to maintain a higher degree of peasant culture, would be more popular. It depends a good deal upon culture. For example, the US's interpretation of Christianity isn't warped into being highly capitalist by the society it lives with, meaning Christian socialism would have little appeal there. The US is also sort of a weird exception, where there's a remarkable degree of internal religious competition, which keeps American Christianity very marketable and vibrant, unlike most areas in Europe where there's a single national church. The correlation between religion and birth rate is fairly high, meaning a more religious Europe would also have more children. This would mean that Europe would have a more stable birth rate and would thus need less immigration. Similarly, with Europe being significantly more Christian, immigration largely from Islamic countries would be much less popular. With lots of countries questioning the profit motive more, the financial motivation towards technological progress would be less. Technology would a certain degree less advanced, however, the US has invented most things since World War II, and so it wouldn't be by a large degree.
The West
Christian
invented
socialism would be
most
very
things since
popular
World
among
War
the socially
II.
conservative but oppressed peasantries in very
Hey.
unequal areas.
What country put the first satellite into space? What country had invented Tetris? Come on, really? Yeah, most inventions came from the West. Okay, all right, okay, buddy.
Yeah, and I mean, even the inventions that were made, which there were plenty in the West. I mean, the
Yeah, of
reason those were
course.
made was because, they were rich. Why were they rich? Because of imperialism, because they had the wealth and resources for their Einsteins and their Newtons or whatever
Also,
to actually
so
have
yep.
the resources and the funding to make, scientific achievements and inventions.
Well, a lot of the inventions in the West that became really popularized came from either military or space exploration programs or universities, which were all extremely heavily funded as a part of our cultural and scientific aspect of the Cold War, right? For example, modernist art, a lot of stuff like Jackson Pollock, for example, he was getting paid by the CIA, even though he didn't know that. It was through cutouts and stuff like that. So there was a lot of public funding to try to win the Cold War, not just on the military side, but on the cultural side, or technological side, and you have a lot of these products that are developed or technologies that are developed by universities, by NASA, by the US military that end up becoming consumer products that they basically spend public money to develop it and give the tech to a company to mass produce.
Yeah, well said.
Mm-hmm. What's up, Zipper Rusk? First time seeing you here. Brain drain too, yeah.
As like Latin America and Africa. Expect lots of Christian socialist dictatorships in the Third World. If Christian socialism became very successful, I could see other religions like Buddhism and Hinduism, which have similar socialistic tendencies as Christianity, taking ideas from Christian socialism and incorporating them into their religions. We know very little about how the Christian socialist movement would develop, but it almost certainly would kill less people than communism. Every religious war in history and every...
What the fuck is he talking about?
The religion that did multiple bloody genocidal campaigns to purge heretics from the Holy Land,
Yeah.
that religion is gonna be less violent than communism, and he still has like, wow, he's really not said anything here.
Well,
Okay.
and
Also, looks like I can stay longer, Kem. They fucking benched me from the 10-man hard mode because they're fucking pieces of shit. Fuck you, Pickle. Sorry. I have the highest gear score of any of our DPS.
For context, Famous Horse is on his own stream, and he's become a WoW streamer now, so he's a gamer streamer now. So
I've been streaming a lot of WoW.
I've lost all respect for him at this point. So
that's fair. That's understandable.
And
that's a good point, Servos. Yeah, he's purely functioning at a superstructural level with zero consideration for base or material conditions, right? Because purely the hypotheticals, that's why I don't like hypotheticals, because a lot of the time they just get turned into this weird, completely irrelevant nonsense. What if he did? What if he didn't? What if the world was made of pudding? I don't fucking care. And this guy is not considering why things became the way they did, both ideologically and culturally, and just assuming that that's the level at which everything operates, and therefore he can just come up with these hypotheticals where he tweaks the superstructure, and it'd be a totally different thing. That's right, billions and billions. Carl Sagan. Carl Sagan is a famously not anti-communist.
And I'm really disappointed in him because he actually admitted at first that the Nazis killed more like 40 million people.
No, he did say that, but he said it begrudgingly.
Look at what he's doing now. Bloodiest atheist ideologies. He's back to 13 million. Fascism. What the fuck is he talking about?
Japanese nationalism, legalism. Japanese nationalism killed more than that, buddy.
Japanese nationalism was pretty much fascism, from what I understand. Like, it was...
Yeah. So it was really, really funny that he had to make sure that Islam is the bloodiest religion. Also, Taiping Chiba. Chibina. Okay. Also, he's claimed... Yes,
oh my God.
Of course I mean, this guy's obviously a racist, right? And he couldn't leave out being like, actually, the Aztecs weren't civilized. The Aztecs killed millions of people. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to do alt history, do an alt history where the Aztec Empire conquers Europe. Do that instead.
Sunset Invasion. That's true fucking Paradox video game brain. Like that's literally a thing in the Paradox game where the Aztecs invade.
Are you reading my chat too, Kem?
No.
No, because somebody just said this guy has the mind of a Hearts of Iron 4 player, and he absolutely does.
He does.
And like Paradox gamers, the Paradox gamer to fascist pipeline is real strong.
Yeah, he's so generous to lower it from 100 million to 80 million. Yeah. What a generous man to still only be off by tens of millions. But yeah, fascism 13 million. So he's completely abandoned the idea of the 40 million number that he said earlier on. And now fascism all of a sudden is 13 million, and he's discerning Japanese nationalism from fascism. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it was pretty much fascism.
So what he did with he begrudgingly said the Nazis killed 40 million because he said, if you really want to include all the war deaths in the Western Front and blame those on the Nazis, you can get 40 million. But he was implying by his wording that that is an absurd thing to do, and that you right? He's like, well, if you really want to do that, I guess you can, but it doesn't even matter because the Soviets are still way worse.
Yeah.
Like, very cool.
Yeah. And what the fuck is legalism, by the way? Legalism 1 million.
Getting that legalism.
Do you have any clue what the legalism is, anybody?
I'm not gonna say that I do. I have no clue. Let me look. I feel like I've heard that, but I don't know the meaning of it. He's probably referring to like the classical Chinese philosophy, I guess. And
Okay.
when you pull up, okay, so when I pull up legalism, amazing. I'm going to show this for my chat, sorry. When you pull up legalism, you get the Bible Study Tools website. What is legalism and why is it so dangerous to your faith? But this is talking about following the law.
Say
Cool.
hello to Hazel, everybody.
The biblical argument against legalism. Scholars should try to justify and rebuff legalism in our churches. Uh-huh.
Horse, do you want to see my cat, Hazel?
Yes. Legalism is a part of our sinful nature. It's our minds taking charge when we should be walking with Christ. Let me see the cat. Woo! Look at that cat. Look at that cat. Look at that cat. Look at that cat. Hold on. I need to share it. So, there we go. Kem's got a cat chat.
She's usually much more
Look at
chill. For some reason, she's like kind of trying to get out of my arms. Hazel, it's okay, baby.
Hey, I'm my little cat friend. No, it's legalism here. Almost certainly the YouTuber is referring to the Chinese philosophy. I don't know a lot about it. Yeah, the cat's going to be a bit blurry because he's using some movie magic to create a depth of field effect. And because of that depth of field effect is movie magic, sometimes it blurs cats' faces.
Yeah, she came in and then it blurred her face, but
I know. It was really funny, honestly. It's like censoring the cat's face like she's being booked. Like your cat's on Cops, and they're like blurring the cat's face because you didn't get a release from her.
yeah. She was the runt of the litter. So she's like stopped growing.
So is my baby.
She's stopped growing pretty much for like months.
Uh-huh.
And she's kind of dumb, but she's very cute.
Let me get my dumb baby.
But yeah. So by the way, if you want to give Hazel some brain cells, every dollar that goes towards the channel gives Hazel
Your
one
chat
brain
can't see
cell.
my cat, but my chat can. If you want to see the most beautiful cat, go to Twitch TV/famous horse to see the most beautiful angel on earth. Yeah, do you want to say something, Jade? Speak your mind, princess.
All right.
Oh, come on. You were just talking about Catholics. Come on, say what you think about Catholics. All right. Oh, man, she does not like the Pope. Did somebody just say meh to me about my cat?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, no. They're claiming that Jade said meh. Okay.
All right. Let's get through this shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
Religious dictatorship in all of history combined kills less people than just communism, and atheist regimes have consistently killed
Atheist regimes. Impressionistic. Uh-huh.
Why
says,
the
okay.
fuck? Why the fuck would you
Honestly,
not count wars? Hold on. Why in the fuck would you not count wars? Offensive wars. How does that not make sense?
what?
The only
Okay,
reason he is doing that is because he doesn't want to add numbers to the Nazis. That is the only
Exactly.
reason.
That's the sole reason, right? And
Because
it's really funny,
fascism
though.
and settler colonialism in Nazi Germany, these were fundamentally a part of Nazi ideology. The war,
Exactly.
the invasion of the East, was fundamentally Nazism. It was
Right,
Lebensraum.
Nazi.
Hitler
Yeah,
literally
exactly,
wrote
right?
about colonizing the East, invading the East.
Right.
He is a
you
Nazi
talk-
fucking piece of shit. He is a
This
complete
guy,
Nazi sympathizer piece of fucking shit. And he's
obviously,
so desperate
I mean-
to make communism look bad that he has to fucking not include an offensive invasion that was intimately intertwined with Nazi ideology.
right, and you can tell that, like, even, like, if this guy didn't say it, you can tell that he thinks that communism is worse than fascism, right? And you're right that Lebensraum, settler colonialism, etc., those were all core parts of the Nazi ideology, right? That was the fucking point, to colonize Europe, right? And it reminds me, one of the funniest things that people criticized the Soviet Union for was the displacement of German settlers. And I'm like, the deportation of German settlers? And I'm like, come on, really? You're gonna be upset about that one? That grandma von Liechtenstein got sent back to Berlin? Yeah, and he clearly forgot the Crusades, which were offensive. I mean, like, but what he's trying to do, right, is communism hasn't launched offensive wars, and he's using the insane, puffed up Black Book of Communism numbers, right? Those death toll for Stalin almost certainly included the Nazis who died under Operation Barbarossa, right? He's using those puffed up numbers, and simultaneously, he's excluding any additional numbers that he's using the lowest numbers on the fascist and Christian side to try to make them look better in comparison. Obviously, if you were to ask this guy, he'd say, of course, the Soviet Union was worse than Nazi Germany. He would say that. What about the people who died in the Irish potato famine or the Bengal famine? Right. Not including any of those. Right? Those are both direct results of British colonialism.
Which is part of the state's ideology. So it's just
exactly.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean...
And also, notice that he says all this shit, throws all this shit on the screen, and then puts up a, 5-second slide with, a mountain of text, just hoping that you're not going to read it. Right? Because he says the numbers are impressionistic. It's really hard to get an accurate thing. I'm not including wars. And he just plops that up on the screen and hopes that it just flows over you and you don't see it.
Yeah.
Killed more people than religious ones. This is since religious regimes have to follow strict moral conduct or the state is a failure. Similarly, religious movements normally put a...
What did he just say?
Oh my god, he's like, he just said that religious states have to follow strict moral guidelines or they're a failure. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? Do you really think that religious states aren't also hypocritical? Come on, man. Once again, this is the most paradox gamer brain I have ever seen. I do not know what it is, but the only people who play paradox games are weird Marxists and then Nazis. So they're the only people who play those games. And 9 times out of 10, if you see someone who's big into paradox games, right? Big red flag. And then you ask them, what's your favorite paradox game? And if they say Stellaris, they're probably fine. Probably fine if they like Stellaris. Yeah. And I'm not speaking because I've played a lot of Stellaris. But, yeah, if they're like, oh, I prefer the Hearts of Iron 4 mods, and you go, oh, what mods? Oh, Kaiserreich. Oh, okay.
Oh, hold on a sec. So I will admit, I am the 10 guy. I am a huge Paradox fan. I'm the weird Marxist 10th guy.
There you go.
I am the small demographic of Marxists, but Kaiserreich actually has a big communist element. One of the factions in the game is communist, actually. So
yeah,
I like to play the communists in Kaiserreich. So.
Oh yeah, no, they have that in there. Absolutely. Oh no, looks like this tank is, what is this tank? Anyways, but yeah, Kaiserreich was written by a right winger, if I remember correctly.
Really? Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. The one thing I will say about Kaiserreich is that it's impossible to win as the communist power. It's I have played it many, many times, and the fascists always win. But But yeah, good point, Damon Sultan. Yeah, Saudi theocracy. This guy's fucking insane. He said that, and also he literally said that the Aztecs sacrificed millions of people. They were a religious country. Were they moral? It's just insane.
Obviously, he doesn't think that because they're non-white.
Have consistently killed more people than religious ones. This is since religious regimes have to follow strict moral conduct or the state is a failure. Similarly, religious movements normally put a prime on the human soul and also tend to have conservative views. Keeping things the same as they are requires killing less people than bringing heaven on earth. Similarly, atheist regimes...
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
What are you talking about, dude?
Keeping things the same as they are requires repressing anyone from rising up against the government, from trying to get a better life. There is actually still plenty of violence. It's just state-sanctioned violence, you know? So the only reason the US hasn't collapsed is because the only reason the US doesn't have to violently repress its own citizens is because it violently represses the third world, right?
Well, and they're
violently
also violently
represses-
repressing their citizens.
Not to an incredible extent is what I mean.
Well,
It's
the
not like
frontier's coming home. It's not the same. It's
millions
not the same as
or
what we
hundreds
do
of
else.
thousands of people aren't being killed in America. That's what I'm saying, or tens of thousands
Right,
of people.
no.
They do this in the third world and then take the resources from these countries, and that's why people in the first world aren't being brutally murdered in the tens of thousands. That's the only reason, right? It all comes back
They do
to
it elsewhere.
imperialism. It just all comes back to imperialism.
The main contradiction.
The one word you need to understand to be a socialist is imperialism.
The main contradiction. So, I mean, and that sort of violent, extreme repression, they invisibilize in the United States, right? They've done that to the indigenous communities, and they continue to do that to indigenous people. They do that to non-white people, right? But they invisibilize the kind of violence that they do.
Whether the Qin dynasty, the French revolutionaries, the Nazis, or communists view the ends as justifying the means, since their goal is to have their finite physical goal be reached, and they don't believe in absolute morality.
This is just insane too, because like the Crusaders were happily able to ruthlessly murder countless people because they saw the Muslim as heretics, right? Or heathens. Like they weren't part of God, right? You know, they weren't part of God's kingdom, so they weren't like even humans. And also, before slavery became a race-oriented ideology, it was a religion-oriented ideology, right? Before race was created for slavery purposes, it was you enslave people because they're not Christian. This is how it worked. This is how the church did this thing. They would enslave people because they weren't Christian, right? So, like, yeah. Mike sounds like a tin can. Damn, does it really sound that bad?
Your mic doesn't sound particularly bad.
Huh.
Or are you talking about my mic that sounds like a tin can, which is possible?
It sounds okay, I think.
In this timeline, with no communism, there's no Russian Revolution, or there's a millenarian Christian revolution. It really doesn't matter what happens. Either way, the Christians win. This is since if Russia becomes a constitutional monarchy, as it likely would if the whites were to win, the peasants would vote en masse for Christian socialism, an ideology practically designed for them. The Russian peasants, when they had elections, voted overwhelmingly for socialist candidates, and were also very socially conservative. Backwoods Russian Orthodoxy also has a strong millenarian streak. This would transform Russia into an effective theocracy. Nazism wouldn't exist in this timeline, at least not in the way it did in our timeline.
What?
A huge factor that let the Nazis rise to power was the huge fear on the part of the average German that a communist takeover would destroy German civilization. However,
I mean, he's not, like, completely wrong in terms of, like, fascism being a reaction to socialism, but the thing is...
The immune response to capital, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah, but the thing is, socialism would still always come to existence. He's imagining a world which would never exist. Like,
right.
There would always be some form of socialism that would exist, even without Karl Marx.
He's just
the social
doesn't... Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, it just, like, he just has no understanding of anything beyond the realm of pure ideas. Pure hypotheticals. Once again, going back to what if he did, what if he didn't, what if the world was made of pudding? Like, it doesn't fucking matter, dude. This is the same kind of guy who, like, gets mad that ChatGPT, won't say the N-word to defuse a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Factors that
Just
led
want
to
to point out
Nazism
how soft
existing
my
in
cat is.
our timeline would still be there. Similarly, Darwinism posits an interesting rebuttal to the Christian worldview that's so compelling that I can't imagine it not being used. I could see a philosophy similarly racist to the Nazis developing, but I don't know how much Christianity would influence this timeline's version of German nationalism. Anti-Semitism, meanwhile, is nothing new in the history of Christianity.
Thank you for the
Similarly, the
prime.
geographic and geopolitical realities that resulted in World War II in our timeline would likely still be there, meaning we'd likely still see World War II in the following division of Europe between the Russian and Western elements. After World War II, we could possibly see a greater survival of colonial empires. This was since a big reason for decolonization was that the Europeans lost faith in their civilizing mission and that they were superior, and thus had the right to colonize other nations.
Wow. This
Wow,
guy
man.
is so fucking dishonest, dude. Is
Yeah,
he gonna
he's just
mention? Is he gonna mention how many of the colonial movements that the USSR helped support? No, the
no.
West just lost. The West just lost confidence in its civilizing mission.
Jesus Christ, man. Like, the fuck, dude?
The West
I
didn't
just...
lose consciousness in shit. They would have happily continued, or confidence in shit. They would have happily continued exploiting the third world. It was the people in the third world that rose up against the colonizers.
Right.
However, with strongly Christian European nations, they would still have an ideological reason to maintain colonies, that of Christianization. This timeline honestly gets impossible to predict in fine detail after a certain point since we don't know how Christian socialism would develop as an ideology. It's like trying to figure out the plot of a drama but barely knowing anything about the main character. I honestly already feel like I'm stretching this timeline too far by going all the way to World War II. What if Altist, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that
Dan.
video, please like, comment, subscribe, or stay tuned for additional
absolutely
content.
not.
Or alternatively, check me out on Patreon, where I've got all sorts of cool maps as well as the first chapters of my history of the world. As always, thanks so much for watching and have a great day.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a much worse day after reading that.
Yeah, and I'm making a video about this guy.
Oh,
Wait
are
till
you?
you actually see some of. I'm probably gonna try to release it this weekend. Wait till you see the kind of fucking maps that this guy makes, because
Oh, yeah.
they are fun. Let's just say that they are a lot of fun, and by that I
Yeah?
mean they're brain melting.
I don't even want to imagine
They're brain
how
melting.
much this guy's videos suck.
Well,
Like,
you just saw
that...
it.
Yeah, that video was, like, bad enough, and if his other videos are in any way worse, which I'm certain they are, I feel like I am gonna go completely insane. I have already taken an immense amount of psychic damage from that video. Oh, hey! We got a raid, and I forgot to properly fix my raid alert text. I've been playing around with my raids and stuff. Hey, welcome in. Sorry, let me mute myself real here quick.
That's no problem. I was gonna probably end the stream anyways at this point. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed having your brains melted. If you want to, support me, support the channel, you can donate through the chat, like through the show your support for Chemical
That's
Mind
right.
in the chat.
You can support Chemical Mind by subscribing. You can do that.
Or just subscribe to my channel. And also I linked my Patreon in the chat as well, if you want to support me that way. That would be an immense help, like if I had enough money to support me, I could do this more frequently, these kinds of streams more frequently, and I could make videos at even a faster rate. I'm doing it pretty fast, but I could make it even faster, which would be awesome. So any kind of support in that vein would be appreciated. Thanks for coming on, Horse. I guess Horse
Yeah,
is...
I'm muted. Yeah, of course.
And thank you everyone for watching. You guys are awesome. And
Congrats
yeah.
on your inaugural stream. Congrats on your first stream. And thank you for letting me come and hang out with you here.
Yeah, it was a good time. Thanks for coming.
Of course.
There were some hiccups, but overall I think it went pretty well.
I think I think you did it first good stream. Better than less scuffed than most people's first streams, right?
Well, that's good to hear. Hey,
Most first
Garfields.
streams are extremely scuffed. Yes. Well, thank you for having me on. I am just to say who I am for everyone in there. I'm not a YouTuber, not exactly, not primarily. I'm a Twitch streamer. Also for the same people who came in the raid. What's up? I'm Famous Horse. I'm a communist. I do news, interviews, deep dives, guest stuff like that on Twitch TV Famous Horse. Like 5 to 6 days a week. So yes, and thank you for the raid, and thank you for having me on, Kem. Congratulations on your inaugural stream. Hopefully there will be many more in the future.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I don't know.
Let's go.
This shit's tiring, man. Like I didn't realize I'm exhausted.
How
right
tiring
now.
streaming was? Yeah,
Yeah.
streaming is a very much a different skill set from YouTube videos, and I really want to learn how to make proper video essays like you do. I'm working on editing the video from you and I, and us reacting to that Illuminati video and debunking it, and then the fucking raw file is 3 hours. We spent 3 hours watching a 36-minute video. That's how bad and racist our video was. And it took us 3 hours to get through 36 minutes. So I wish I had a little bit more of a skill set like yours. But yeah, streaming is very much endurance. I used to get very tired doing it. Now, at this point, I'm basically streaming 6, 7, 8 hours a day every day. When people start streaming the first time, they're always like, it's really tiring. Like, oh yeah, I guess it's exhausting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, video making is tiring too, but
Oh, totally.
but this is also draining for sure. And it's a different skill set. It's interesting because you don't have a script, right? So you have to just like
Yes.
ad lib off the top of your head. I mean, you can prepare,
Yes.
but
I
it's
prepare. I will prepare a checklist sometimes, like a certain things I want to mention or stories. But yeah, it's all ad lib.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Hello,
Yeah.
hello, people from the United Marxist Pact Discord. That's a cool place.
Oh, cool.
That helped. That's the place that helped
Mhm.
radicalize me more. It has a lot of good resources. It's a cool community if you want to check that out. They're cool people. But yeah, again, my Patreon's in the chat if you want to financially support me. It means a lot. Thank you everyone for coming. And
Let's go.
hell yeah, I will maybe see you next time, sometime in the future.
Sometime in the future. And to my chatters, I'll drop Chemical Minds my channel there. So if you haven't already followed Chem, please do. Please go check out his channel. Leave him a like. Leave a subscription. And let's see. I'll drop my channel in there if that's fine with you as well.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
All right, let me see if I can find the page again. There we go. And that's my channel there. So my guys, please go follow Chem if you haven't already. I dropped the link to the live stream so you can leave it a like and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, we got a fucking. I was hoping someone would actually do that so I could show.
Yeah,
the
there we
cool
go.
thing I
Somebody
have.
subscribed, right? Yeah,
Wow,
somebody subscribed.
beautiful.
There we go.
I love it.
There we go. Beautiful.
I'm
Beautiful.
gonna play it again. There you go. All right. The Chem intern. You like
Oh,
it?
hello,
The Chem intern?
Command Genius. Oh, you're here from Chem. Well, thank you for the Amazon Prime sub. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you for the 6 months Subversive History.
Hey, Blastoise. Good night. Good night, everybody.
Alrighty, well, I'll catch you later, bud.
See you, horse.
Yeah, you're welcome to hop in later. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna take a quick intermission.